regular meeting of City Council with Committee of the Whole for Monday, May 27th, 2024 to order. The City of Dawson Creek acknowledges that we are privileged to live and work on Treaty 8 territory in the traditional home of the Cree, Danazé, Saulteaux, Sicannie, and Slavey First Nations. We value the Métis peoples that live and gather here. We commit to upholding the respectful relationships these nations have built with the land and acknowledge our responsibility to carry that forward today and into the future. First order of business, 2 delegations. Before I get started through this, I just wanted to touch a little bit. It's a pretty exciting day. Youth is an extremely important thing to myself and this council as a whole and to the city about how we build that, and youth is our future leaders. So to see these delegations that are coming up next, it's really just absolutely amazing and heartwarming to see these presentations this morning. So with that, I'll get going. So 2.1, we have the Dawson Creek Volleyball Club U15 girls team in attendance regarding their gold medal win at the 2024 Youth Nationals in Edmonton. So we can have all of them come in. Melissa, just here for a picture. The council can all get up to you if you guys want for a picture with them. So if there's room, there's a lot of them. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Wow, this is amazing. We were just touching on us as a council on how youth is such a big part of what we do every day, and it's really everything we do. Youth is our next generation of leaders, and to see this not only like as a sport and the success, obviously it's amazing that you're national champions is gold, which is amazing, but just to just to recognize faces that are coming in and just see you guys as future leaders, and the teamwork that it takes to do that is unbelievable, and I'm sure you guys all know that because you've been through it. So really just a warm congratulations from all of us. We are honored that you're gold medal winners in our city, so congratulations. So. I did get a little goodies. So we got some City of Dawson Creek toques for each of you from the city. You're welcome. I know it's not quite toque weather right now, but
no matter what, winter's coming.
you're welcome.
It's May in Dawson.
Right? It's no more.
You're welcome. And then with my other hat, not as a mayor, this is from me personally, just from our business. So just a little gift for each of you to go out for a meal. So congratulations. You're welcome. You can take your parents out. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, so I don't know if there is anything that any of you wanted to say. I do have a mic, just for those that are listening to the city, or...
You have any words? Go ahead.
Not opposed.
No? Okay. That's fine. I just thought I would put you off.
Yeah, I have some, a little bit words.
It's on, I think.
I have some words for the girls and for our community. The girls, they show their big heart, especially this big event for nationals. They show everything what they got for the community of Dawson Creek. And I'm very happy to show you what we accomplished. I think this is big in my part as a head coach, because this is my first time to take this, lead the girls to go to the nationals and even the previous tournaments. So just a sneak peek what we done. First tournament in Fort St. John, we get bronze. And then we went to Premier 2, we got bronze again. And then the finale of the tournament this year is the nationals, which is we get these goals for the Dawson Creek.
Yeah,
Likewise, too, I'll express my thanks to the parents that very supportive to their daughters, bringing them to the tournaments, and for the athletes too. You did your best in every single game. Thank you.
yeah, awesome. Congratulations again, and like you said, it's we're proud from the city of Dawson Creek to be one having you here today, but obviously what a huge achievement for you and your young lives. So congratulations and enjoy it. So yeah, so awesome. So we can get a picture. So, yeah. Get a picture of myself, and we can get all of just come forward. Get you out of the lights. You can come right up to probably here if you want.
Maybe some of you will kneel down.
Going up here.
As long as they don't have the projector.
Okay.
It's always the same.
Like, you can hold up out of that projector lights, unless you want it to be blinded.
Logistics of fitting us into this picture.
There we go.
Good. Bite the metal. Yeah. I don't have one to bite.
Don't bite it.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, Dawson, thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Good job, girls.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, Hailey. Yeah. All right, our next order of business is 2.2. We have Hailey Armstrong, resident of Dawson Creek, in attendance regarding a recipient of the Wall of Fame plaque for hockey accomplishments. So Hailey Armstrong started playing hockey in 2011 at the age of 6 for the Dawson Creek Minor Hockey Association. She went on to play for Team BC in 2021, becoming a gold medalist in the Western Regional Championships. In 2022, Hailey was selected for Team BC and competed at the 2023 Canada Winter Games in PEI, where Team BC won their first ever gold medal. Hailey currently plays for Bemida State University in NCAA Division I in Minnesota, USA. Over her 13-year stint, Hailey has been an inspiration to many female hockey players, and we're proud to have her as our hometown person from Dawson Creek. So congratulations, Hailey, and welcome still. Did you bring your gold medal? Yeah, so on behalf of the city, this will go up at the arena.
Okay.
So yeah, so just wanted to present that to you. And I don't know if you've seen it yet.
Wow.
Yeah, so congratulations.
Thank
And it's
you.
such an amazing thing, one, to present this to you, but just since we've been on council, like we had the U18 female hockey in Dawson
Yeah.
Creek as well. So just to see like compete and how much female hockey has grown in Canada. I think it was the very first event that they did. There was 9,000, I think, registered female athletes in Canada, and last year there was over 100,000.
That's crazy.
So just to see how much it has grown, it is huge.
Yeah.
So it's it's really an honor to present this to you, Hailey.
Thank you.
And,
It's an honor to have that being
yeah.
put up where I started playing the game and fell in love with it.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's it really is, and like you just said, falling in love. I mean, something I learned early in life was find something you love to do, and you'll never work a day in your life. So
Yeah.
to hear you say that, it's just extremely meaningful. So I'm glad you found that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know. Did you want to? Was there any more that you wanted to say? No. Okay. I put you on the spot, but I will get a picture. And did that mom want to come? Do you want a picture? Did you want a picture up here too? No? Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, our next delegation is Meredith Thornton, resident of Dawson Creek, in attendance regarding recipient of Wall of Achievement plaque for contributions to speed skating. Over the last 30 years, Meredith Thornton has made a significant impact on Dawson Creek Speed Skating Club through her dedication to developing young skaters and volunteer coaching. Meredith's patience and commitment have not only helped the skaters improve their skills, but also instilled a love for the sport throughout the community. Her passion for coaching and her ability to nurture talented individuals has led to local speed skaters reaching provincial and national levels. So it's kind of fitting. Ms. Thornton was my teacher back in the day, so I don't want her to come up here and speak about teaching me because it might not be the best. But it's just kind of fitting that we get a morning and where we get to recognize all these youth in our community and their achievements, and then we get to recognize somebody that has contributed to those youth throughout your time of giving back to the city of Dawson Creek and really to help youth. So it really is an honor. One, to give you this, but also just because of a bit of our history and time in school together. So it's there's a lot of moments I get as a mayor where I got to like pinch myself and be like, it's like feels surreal. And this is one of them. So congratulations. So yeah, you can come up. You're welcome. Yeah, so there, that will be at the arena. So yeah, so good job. And thank you for all you do have done and do for the city. So I don't know, did you want to add anything? We do have a mic just because there's some people at home, or you can just.
I just want to say I really appreciate this recognition. Quite often it's the athletes that get the awards, but behind the athletes are the coaches and the parents. And I've worked with the Dawson Creek Speed Skating Club for some time. Dawson Creek Speed Skating has been in the community since 1957, so that's 72 years now. And we've represented nationally, we've represented locally, we've had 2 people on the Olympic team, so it's been fantastic. And I've got some former speed skaters here, a couple that I've known since they were 3 years old, and it's been,
Maybe another one, yeah.
And it's been just fantastic to see them first getting on the ice, learning to skate, taking them all the way through national championships. So,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, congratulations. And I mean, it definitely is a.
Can I get on my speech?
Yeah, for sure, if everybody would like to come up, so.
Melissa, you can come up here too.
Oh, you're not alone on
She
this.
was trying to hide back there. She didn't do a good job, so.
When Melissa was learning to speed skate, she was really, really fast off the start because when the starter's gun went off, she'd take off like crazy crying. She thought somebody was trying to shoot her.
Back in those days, they used the natural Kepka. Now it's all over.
They used to whistle now because of the.
That is funny.
Yep.
We're not in the blue light.
We're not as big as the group. We're not big as the other group.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And this will be hung up if you want. So.
Thank you, Darcy.
Yeah, you
Thank
bet. You're welcome.
Yeah, we can do it.
Do you want to grab them now?
You trained me well.
see you. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
See you guys.
All right, our next order of business is 2.4. We have Ashley Murphey, General Manager of Development Services, Peace River Regional District, in attendance regarding regional growth strategies. So good morning, Ashley, and welcome. So just gotta push the button on there. Perfect. You know the drill.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm super pleased to be here to speak with you about our regional growth strategy project and provide an update and share some exciting dates with you all. So we will get right into it today because I know I have a limited amount of time and you have a very busy agenda. Oh. There we go. Okay. So today we're going to cover what the Regional Growth Strategy Project is, what an RGS is, what does it mean for municipalities work to date, the survey that was completed, and the upcoming engagement. And I guess I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Ashley Murphy. I am the General Manager of Development Services for the Peace River Regional District. And that's just a fancy title to say that I am in charge of wrangling the building, bylaw enforcement, and planning teams over there. So what is a regional growth strategy? So regional growth strategies are enabled by the Provincial Local Government Act. They're initiated, prepared, and enacted by a regional district with the involvement of our member municipalities, so that includes you. It helps guide long-term regional growth management and covers a wide range of policy topic areas, which are largely left up to us. So I, in short, like to think of the regional growth strategy as a high-level kind of business plan for the regional district. Where are we going and how are we getting there as a whole, right? Including all of our member municipalities. So what does that mean for the PRRD? So this process is left largely up to us to decide and the public involvement and stakeholder engagement to determine what the outcomes are. The minimum requirements, though, are it has to be a 20-year time frame. It has to include population, employment, growth projections. It has to have a regional vision statement, as well as key action areas for things like housing, transportation, health and safety, the environment, et cetera. So as part of this process, most of the work will fall onto the shoulders of us over at the regional district to establish a monitoring and implementation program and prepare an annual report, as well as every 5 years do a comprehensive review and determine if anything needs to be updated. However, once adopted, all member municipalities will need to update their OCPs within 2 years to include a regional context statement. So very often OCPs or official community plans already have such a statement in them. So this could just be a very simple update, or we'll have a look and see if maybe what you have in there already works. We're going to be having some conversations further with our consultant for the project to determine what additional support we at the regional district can provide to our member municipalities to assist with that process. So where are we at? We are currently in phase 2 of our project. So I'll go over a little bit about how we got here on the next few slides. So engagement and communications is critical to all of the work that we do, but especially this project. So this project is very heavy on the communications and engagement side of things. We have direction from PRRD board and staff, public and stakeholder input, as well as technical expertise, which includes the steering committee. So our steering committee is formed of staff from each of our member municipalities, as well as some representatives from provincial agencies, Ministry of Transportation, Agricultural Land Commission, etc. And we meet about quarterly as well, I should note, to kind of provide some input and feedback as this work progresses. And then, of course, part of that will involve coming back to our member municipalities, as I am today, to share updates and provide information. So we have done a ton of communications. We have a Have Your Say page online. We've done social media posts, postcards, mail-outs, newsletters, frequently asked questions. We did an online survey. We have ads running in Northern Horizon, Chetwynd Coffee Talk Express, Energetic City. We recognize that there is some challenges now since there is no local newspapers. So we have been exhausting every avenue possible to spread the word. Again, it's not a perfect system. So that's part of the reason why I'm here today, is to ask you as officials of your city to help us spread the word, to help us gain additional public input throughout this process. And we've also reached out to various stakeholder groups as well as our First Nations. So we had a survey open from November until February of 2024. We had over 300 responses, which is fantastic. Now, our consultant is used to doing regional growth strategy work in kind of the southern part of the province, and actually that's where most or all of the regional growth strategies that currently exist are. We will be the most northern region and the largest regional district to complete one of these, so pretty exciting. But they kind of chuckled because they're used to getting tens of thousands of responses for some of their work, and we had to reassure them that no, actually 300 is a very good number of response for this area. So we also did some paper copies as well, and those were distributed throughout the communities as well as at member municipalities for those who may not have access to internet. So what we heard, we started with an existing vision that we pilfered from the regional district strategic plan. And we kind of pitched that to the public to see what they liked and what they didn't like. So through that, what we heard, there's been some changes, which we'll be presenting coming up here in June for additional feedback. So 79% liked the vision, thought it was okay. Some of the things that we heard back was no mention of rural character or communities, environmental protection, addressing housing, inclusion of First Nations perspectives, and addressing the needs of all age groups, as well as people wanting to understand who are the partners that we were speaking about. And of course, we fully expected to hear some, not as positive comments. And one of those is too much mention of climate change, which we know is a hot button topic. So out of that, we asked people to rank in order of preference what their top priorities were in terms of the region and some policy areas that we need to look at. So out of those, the top four were the regional economy, housing and affordability, agriculture and food security, and public health and safety, with transportation, parks, regional district services, and climate change and resilience bringing up the rear. So as part of this information, the consultant did a whole bunch of background work. They looked at the member municipality official community plans and strategic plans and other bylaws and policies. They looked at statistics and data from throughout the region, and they compiled it all into what we call the regional profile, which is essentially a snapshot in time of where our regional district is currently at. This document is available on the Have Your Say page. We highly recommend that you go and have a read through. It's got a ton of really great information. And then at the end of that document, what it has is a section titled Moving Forward, and that outlines some of the potential policy areas that we're going to further explore through our next round of public engagement coming up in June. So we are starting to develop the draft regional growth strategy. It's going to be organized similarly to the regional profile. The policy ideas are going to be informed by feedback from all of these different areas, as well as some additional policy ideas that were recommended through the initial round of feedback, and I'm sure we're going to hear more coming up in June. So I'm not going to touch on these because I'm running out of time, but here's just some high-level policy areas that were kind of identified in the regional profile. So outreach and engagement, June 7th to 11th, so just a couple short weeks away. Our consultant will be coming up to join us, and we are going to be doing a round the region tour, visiting all of our wonderful communities, or as many as possible. So we will be in Fort St. John at the Farmers Market, Chetwynd Chainsaw Carving Festival. We will be out in Tumbler Ridge. We will be in Hudson's Hope, and we will be here in Dawson Creek hosting a round of public engagement events. So as well as some targeted stakeholder sessions and community conversations. And so here is the timeline, and all of this information again is available on the Regional District's Have Your Say page for this project, which is our landing page and engagement platform. I also have dropped off some community workbooks, which we have available. So those are a bit of a longer version of the survey, and will inform the next round of this engagement work that we have going on. So we have print versions as well as fillable online versions of that document. So please help share those around. And I also dropped off some postcards, which are nice to just hand out and have the page information and whatnot on them. So thank you so much. That is the end of my presentation.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Ashley, for the presentation and coming. So I will open it up to council first. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you to our delegation for the information. I guess just one or two questions with respect to the motive behind pursuing a regional growth strategy. As far as, is this something that is decided internally within the regional district? Is it something that is, I don't want to use the word downloaded, but strongly recommended by the provincial government as something that's going to be necessary moving forward as a part of grant funding requirements? Is it a combination of both? How's the conversation start?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Dober. So yes, this is kind of a combination. So it's not provincially downloaded. It's completely voluntary as to whether or not we will enact one. However, there was direction from the regional board, and I believe, if I have my dates correct, it was back in 2018, to undertake investigation of development of a regional growth strategy. However, what we have heard from some of the board members is that it has proven to be a limitation, the fact that we don't currently have one when they've gone to apply for some grant funding. So having one in place will assist with that. Mm-hmm. But bigger picture, as I mentioned, I kind of think of it as a business plan. It's really, right now we're doing planning in terms of official community plans would be the highest level kind of planning document we have at the regional district, and that's quite area specific, right? It's targeted. It's not talking the region as a whole. This document doesn't talk land use. It's regional. Where are we going? All of our electoral areas, all of our member municipalities, where are shared opportunities and challenges, and how do we work together to overcome obstacles and create a more prosperous future for the region as a whole?
Okay. If we wanted to see, you mentioned these initiatives are commonplace in the Lower Mainland. Is there one or two you might direct us to in order to look at what a completed document looks like? Just because, I mean, we do a lot of these documents, the OCP, these rolling living documents that have to periodically be updated, and they are valuable as far as getting everybody on the same page in which direction we're going to row. But it's also incredibly labor intensive, as you as a staff are no doubt aware. And in smaller communities, we're not exactly, we don't have an overabundance of spare staff time to put into things like this. So just to get an idea of what are we shooting for, is there a regional growth strategy that you would recommend we have a look at? And secondly, so these are intended to be 20-year time horizons?
Yes.
And how periodically will it be updated?
Through you, Mayor Dober. So the legislative requirement is that we do an annual report. So once this document is in place, and the secondary piece of it is the actual implementation plan. So we are developing a full implementation plan to help guide us on and ensure that whatever gets set forth in the document that we are actually able to track, monitor, and implement. So through that work, we will be looking at updates. So the requirement is an annual review, and we'll use that implementation plan to see how we're doing. And then every 5 years, we need to have a look as a group again, including all member munis, and say, is there anything in this document that really needs to be changed, or are we still good? And that's left up to us to determine as a group again.
Okay, thank you. I think that was it for the moment. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Did you know if there's another growth strategy produced by any other regional districts that, like, for folks to take a look at?
Sure. So I would recommend, I think it's Regional District of Central Okanagan is a good one. And I always get them confused because there's Okanagan, Similkameen, Central Okanagan. There's a few down there. But what I can do is I can go back and I can have a look, and then I can send on an email with that information for you with some examples. The challenge is up here, it's going to look different. Our regional growth strategy is just going to be fundamentally different because of how different our region is compared to those in the southern part of the province, where they're experiencing extreme population and development growth pressures. Ours is more focused around that economic growth, right? And how do we manage those ebbs and flows and prepare for that versus the more population growth centered focus of their documents.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Earl?
No, and I'd imagine, every plan is going to be unique to the region it's speaking to. And I'm not, the salient details, because, obviously, we're a resource-heavy economy, so we have to always take into consideration the ebb and flow of the boom and bust and things like that. For me, it was more just seeing how it's structured, looking at what the deliverables are, looking at what metrics are going to be used to track it, the things you'd see in an annual report, just so we can kind of have an idea of what to expect if people are asking us about it and we're out advocating for it, just to give us some concrete notion of what the end product's going to look like.
Perfect. Thanks, Councillor Earl. Any other questions? Councillor Apollonio?
Just want to like to go to the page 10, like the outreach. Do you like to do outreach? I know that you have engagement for June 7 to 11. You like to do outreach in Dawson Creek, like during the Dawson Creek Music Festival or the summer cruise, at least more respondent for you, so you can get more information from the people?
Through you, Mayor Dober. So I'm not certain when those dates are, but I would be happy to see if we have capacity. This is just when the consultant's coming up, so we're doing this intensive week. But certainly we are looking at other dates to get out into community. So we know, Fall Fair is an opportunity. Some of the rodeos throughout the region as well could be opportunities for further engagement. So I'm always happy to, if you have suggestions or recommendations for dates or venues that we should look at to further spread the word about the project and gather feedback, happy to have a look at those and how we can be present.
Thank you.
Just to add a little bit to that, when is that part of this going to be done? Like, what's and you might have mentioned it already. It was, but just the engagement and stuff. Is there like a planned date when you plan to kind of have that done and get to the next steps, or is it?
Not through this. So we'll have another survey that's in the works as well. So just for people that might not be able to make it out in person. So we do have those workbooks. And then I believe there's going to be another online survey, but it's kind of rolling engagement, and we're flexible and fluid based on the responses that we're getting, right? So if we think that we need more time, we know that summer is always a bit challenging to get people out as well. So we're trying to be fluid and responsive in that regard. So no hard timelines just yet.
What about getting the end document to that stage? Is there like a goal or target date?
Yes. So the document is intended to be completed by the end of next year.
End of
That-
2025.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
our goal. That's what the project scope has said. So again, we know everyone's busy, and so we want to make sure that this is a really, really good document, and that's our focus.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. Councillor Parslow.
Just looking at these slides just illustrates that there's lots of tensions in this region, as there are in every region, I'm sure. For instance, energy, hydro, food security, climate change, Indigenous rights, you name it. There's all sorts of widely held perspectives. What's the plan for reaching consensus on these matters in this region?
Oh, that's an awfully philosophical question, I think, for today. I don't think we're ever going to achieve consensus. I don't think that's a reasonable expectation. What we can do is try to include as many perspectives as possible and try to get out there and build relationships and understanding. A lot of this is, being out in community and hearing where those concerns lie. Obviously, as a regional district, we don't have the authority or powers to solve all of the world's problems. But if we're able to, understand where those pinch points are, then we have a better opportunity or ability to know how we can support or correct them with the powers and authority that we as a regional district have. But consensus is not ever the goal, I don't think, in terms of planning, because it's just, you're never going to get 100% support or buy-in for everything. Yeah.
Well, that depends how you define consensus. I mean, my working definition of consensus might be different than others, but the one that I'm borrowing from the Council of Indigenous Scholars is that everybody has been heard and feel that they've been understood. If we're going to develop a plan, surely there's going to be some decision points. And I guess my question, rephrasing it, is how are we going to reach some decision points? What is included in the plan and what is not?
So I suppose through the engagement is how we're reaching that. So we're, the first survey that we did, it was pretty clear based on that, the top 4 ranked priorities for the public. So now we've taken that, we've developed some policy points through the regional profile. Now this round of engagement, we're going out to the public and asking, again, some questions. Here's what we've heard. Is this correct? Here's some additional considerations. What do you think about this? And so it's kind of that teasing it out, drafting it up again, going back to the public, refining, going back, refining. At the very end of this process, the regional board and all member municipalities will need to agree to support the document in order for it to, come to life. So at the end of the day, the final decision will rest with you as member municipal councils and the regional board.
Thank you, Ashley. Thanks, Councillor Parslow. All right, well, if there's no other questions, thanks. Thank you for coming, Ashley. We appreciate you taking the time and educating us. So,
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have a great day. All right, our next order of business, 2.5, we have Lauren Groff, teacher, and some students from the Dawson Creek Secondary School, Central Campus in attendance regarding their spring 2024 trip to Vimy Ridge. Did Devin just go grab them? You guys can come in. Oh. No, they're right there. They're coming. Our Councillor MacDonald. Welcome, ladies. You can just sit down, and then if you just push the button on that mic, like on the, yeah, I will turn it on. Yeah, and then the floor is all yours, so welcome, and I guess maybe before we start, if you can just, for those that are here and those that are listening, just say what your names are, and that would be great.
So we are the Vimy Ridge representatives from Dawson Creek Central Campus. I'm Maria.
I'm Olivia.
I'm Mackenzie.
I'm Sophia.
And we're going to talk about our amazing experience in Europe. So,
We learned about the World War and what challenges, hardships, and terrifying things everyone had to go through. We went to Anne Frank's house, and we saw how her and her family had to hide from the Nazis for months in a very cramped space with 8 other people. We went to Vimy Ridge and saw how valiant Canadian soldiers fought and died for it. We attended a panel where we were taught what life was like on both sides of the Berlin Wall.
we went to Germany, France, England, the Netherlands, and Belgium. We first arrived in the great city of Berlin, which is Germany's capital city. Then we visited Amsterdam. Then we visited Belgium in the city of Ypres. We drove to the city of Arras, then to Caen, located in Normandy. Then we arrived in Paris, France, and finally in London.
On our first day of the trip, we arrived in Berlin, where we met our tour guide and took a walking tour of Berlin's Jewish quarters. We took a guided tour of Berlin, where we saw Brandenburg Gate, remains of the Berlin Wall, and Kurfürstendamm. That was not supposed to be on there. Sachsenhausen concentration camp memorial site, and went to a panel discussion about the Cold War. Arnhem region and visited Canadian War Cemetery. Then we went to the Freedom Museum. In Amsterdam, we visited Anne Frank's house and the Amsterdam canals. We traveled to Vimy region, to Ypres, Essex Farm Cemetery, and then to the Flanders Fields Museum and the last post-ceremony at Meagan Gate.
We then visited Vimy Ridge Historic Site and we stood by the Vimy Memorial. We traveled to Arras. In Caen, the Normandy region, we visited the Beny-sur-Mer Canadian War Cemetery and shortly after the Juno Beach Center. In Paris, we took a tour of Versailles and other places in Paris like the Eiffel Tower and the catacombs. We traveled to London. We saw Big Ben and Houses of Parliament, Piccadilly Circus, St. Paul's Cathedral, Westminster Abbey, and the Churchill War Rooms. Finally, we said goodbye to our guide and flew home to Canada.
These are some pictures from when we went to Germany. It's the Sachsenhausen concentration camp, Brandenburg Gate, and I think that's also part of the concentration camp. My bad. And in the Netherlands, this was the windmill we visited and a picture of the Amsterdam canals. Then in France, there's Versailles, Juno Beach, part of the Paris catacombs, the Eiffel Tower, and finally the Vimy Ridge Memorial. And then in England, we went to Big Ben and we saw the Royal Palace and Tower Bridge. And what impact did it have on us as people? To be honest, this trip was like more amazing than I could ever express. We made unforgettable memories like that we'll cherish forever. This trip allowed so many other people to come out of their comfort zone and meet a lot of new people. It also allowed us to try new things, and I would not have imagined this trip any other way. It was so perfect. And finally, thank you to the many different group of people who were responsible for helping us along the way. We want to thank everyone who contributed to our trip, whether it was sponsorships, donations, fundraising opportunities, or encouragement. We could not have done this without you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, and thanks for taking the time to come in. And you can stay seated if you want. It's an amazing presentation, but I think just at the end you touched on it for me when you said just the experience and how much that meant to you. That just hit home with me, and seeing that what it did to you. It's really warming. So I'm extremely, grateful that you're here to present, but also that you got to experience this in life, and especially at your ages, right? So, you know, it's just such a critical age that you're at, you know, and growing up and getting into adulthood to sort of experience this and see all that. Just amazing. So how many students went?
22. Yeah, 20, and 3 adults.
Wow, nice. And how long were you gone for?
A little less than 14 days.
Oh, so you were busy then.
Yeah.
You were going.
No
so.
breaks.
Yeah. Nice.
Get up
It
and
was
go.
definitely a very impactful, trip for all of us. And the memories we made, it's definitely forever going to stick with us.
And it allowed us to be adaptable because we had to
Yeah.
adapt to so many different things like
Yeah.
language barriers and trying to like move
Time
around.
zones and stuff.
Yeah.
To really
Yeah.
work around it.
And I can only imagine too, like as a group or a team being there, like how that could just, like those skills, like how to work
Yeah.
together, right? It's
Yeah.
not
And
about
also-
yourself, it's about how do we do this as a group.
Yeah, and it also showed us like a sense of independence. Like we weren't there with our parents and we had to work with ourselves,
Yeah.
be responsible for ourselves.
Wow, very inspiring. I'm happy that you guys got to experience that. So I'm gonna see if council has some questions. Councillor Parslow.
The listing of places you went to were a good prompt to me for my one of my daughters led a RCMP detachment group to the big anniversary of the Vimy Ridge stuff. Did you actually attend the last post at the Menning date?
Yes, we did.
What were your impressions of that? And would you mind telling council what that's all about? Because it's a very touching ceremony. So would you like to explain that to the rest of the council?
So I don't really know how to explain it. It's like they were played like the last, like the song that is usually played, with the trumpets, and they brought out the wreaths of poppies.
And it happens every day, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, the men in the Canadian forces relieved many of the oppressed people of Belgium and Holland, and my daughter said that every day there's a commemoration in honor of the Canadian forces that was very touching. Yeah.
It had like a very atmospheric, like, of just respect
Yes.
for everyone.
Yes, the thing that surprised her, it touched her, it was how appreciative the people of that region are to Canada.
And there was many people there.
Yes, every day, yeah. And as sharing with my colleague, Councillor MacDonald, you know, I think Councillor MacDonald made a comment which is so true, that we just don't appreciate, because we're so far away, the great appreciation for, yeah.
I think it needs more appreciation, to be honest, because they did so much. Like, it was
We had a wonderful experience.
yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. And building on that, I would say thanks to the very hard work of your teachers, your parents, you all have been given a great gift of knowledge and experience. And I would just ask that you make sure you share it with everybody in your community and your peers. And it's amazing. I applaud your parents and your teachers for giving you guys that knowledge and experience. It's amazing.
We couldn't have done it without them.
Yeah.
Right?
The amount of support was insane and forever grateful.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. And we have an amazing community. So was everybody from the same class? Like, or was
No. There was a mix of different people, like different kinds of people, and we just all had to work together and made lifelong friendships.
Yeah.
And the teacher who took us, there was only 4 of us in her socials class, so she didn't actually get to teach anyone else what we were going to learn about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we did start like fundraising and planning for this trip last year when we were in grade 8, and I think most of us had her last year for social studies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So is there like a general consensus from the group, like what the most memorable or favorite thing was, or was it different for each person?
I think it
or-
might have been different for everyone.
Yeah.
People definitely had favorite places
Yeah.
and that we went and like, it was, we have different.
Yeah.
What were your favorites?
I definitely like Paris.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of activities there,
Yeah.
and we definitely saw a lot more. It's more fun.
Yeah.
I liked Paris a lot too. It was pretty awesome, especially the catacombs.
Yes.
I was so like it was crazy there.
Yeah. Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you for
We
having
really,
us.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you coming in, and yeah, it's amazing just to hear it out of your voices, right? About like what you learned, and to hear that passion and confidence about it. That's what it's about. So yeah, like Councillor MacDonald said, grateful for the teachers, parents, and the community that made this possible, but also for you. I mean, without you wanting to go, it wouldn't have been possible, because I know a few of you were knocking on doors for sponsorship and help, and it wasn't just about handouts. You were working hard for it. So, you know, and that's life in a nutshell. We got to work hard for things we want. So, yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank
and,
you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, an amazing morning. All right, our next. Yeah. It's all kind of a fitting morning. So, our next delegation, 2.6, we have Dale Bumstead, Principal, Scion Strategies Limited, in attendance regarding the update on Treaty 8 First Nations work in the region and presentation on proposed Indigenous cultural events. So, welcome, Dale. It's been an amazing morning, and there's been a ton of youth, and just to have you as the last delegation, it's great to have you here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. To administration, it's always good to be back and in the Council chambers. And as my friend, Councillor Parslow, greeted me this morning, Johanna J. from the Beaver people, and from the Creve, we say Tansei, Nijiwaganak. Hello, my friends. So it's been a crazy almost year and a half, 2 years since I started this work with the Daniza Nations in Treaty 8 in northeastern British Columbia. And really, I think the premise I wanted to talk about today was just to give Council a little bit of an update on some of that work that I have been engaged to do with the nations. And I use probably the overarching kind of word for me is about relationships, and it has been about that is building initiatives that help to build the relationships in the region with the Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities. And one of the primary initiatives we took on was the development of the Leaders Table. And the Leaders Table is really an initiative that we bring together the elected leaders of Northeast BC and the Northern Rockies, both the Indigenous, the chiefs, the mayors, and the Peace River Regional District. And it really is about building together the relationships of building community. And that for years and years, though, the elected leaders from either Treaty 8, who met at the Treaty 8 Tribal Association, and or the mayors and the regional directors who met at the Peace River Regional District table, but never did the two meet, and never did the two have that formal structure where that communication and information was shared about areas of common interest. And I use that term, the premise around you reach across the fence and help your neighbor when your neighbor needs a hand, and you keep your nose out of your neighbor's business when it's none of your business. And I think, to me, that's part of kind of the work that we're trying to move forward with, is finding those initiatives that we can work together collaboratively on areas of common interest, and healthcare, education, sometimes economic opportunities. And so we've been meeting now for about a year and a half. I think we meet about every 3 months, 4 months. We try to. We got another meeting coming up on June 11th, the next iteration of it. And as an example, the agenda on the next meeting, we'll have the CEO of Northern Health, the new CEO, Cyril Panena, who's just been replaced Kathy Ulrich in January. So we've got Cyril attending to give an update on the introduction of Cyril. Todd from Northern Lights College, Monderoff, the president of Northern Lights College, will be there to give an update on the college and some of the work that they have underway. And then we've stumbled upon the NCO in charge of hate crimes for the RCMP for British Columbia. He's going to come up along with the member detachment leadership from the region, and they'll be there to give an update on some of the work that they have. So that's just kind of an example of the work that we're bringing together at that leaders table. Another really important one, and I think, I've been working with Ryan and Alyssa on the signage project that the city of Dawson Creek we're looking at in terms of developing the banner signage in the city. And so to me, part of that is just increasing the presence and raising the presence and profile of the Indigenous neighbors in the region. And one of the things that we stumbled upon was the Clay Tenay and Prince George have done a Heritage Indigenous project at the Prince George Airport, where they're telling the storyboard of developing these storyboards in the airport about the history of the Clay Tenay people, and which Prince George, the city of Prince George is on that traditional territory. And so now I'm going to work on that, and we're going to look at seeing if we can kind of model that work with the airports in northeastern British Columbia and the Northern Rockies, with Fort St. John, Dawson, and the Northern Rockies airports, to develop that information about people and visitors when they're coming into the communities, to learn a little bit more about the education on the history of the Indigenous people, and Treaty 8 especially in the region. One of the initiatives we took on last year, and we did 2 sessions, the cross-cultural training sessions, and we did one in the South Piece and Ovintiv Event Center in June, and another one in the North Piece in Fort St. John in September, and that was led by Gary Oker of the Doig River First Nations, and really talking about the education of people who are interested in learning a little bit more about the Indigenous to Treaty 8 people. And so they were very well attended. I think probably had about 100 people attend each session. Local government, business, organizations, Dawson Creek Society for Community Living, organizations like that here participated, and very well attended, and just information. It was very, very educational, and that was the feedback we got. So we're looking at continuing to do some work on those as well. One of the things, and I passed out a gift to...
Technology.
It talks to me all the time. It's not good. And so one of the items that I really have been passionate about, and it goes back to 2021 when I was the mayor, and really developing a cultural event at the Ovintiv Event Center. And so at that time, we presented to the Treaty 8 Tribal Association to seek their approval and permission to host a powwow, hand games tournament, cultural event at the city. COVID, all kinds of issues got into that, the elections, and it was really difficult to kind of move it forward just from a number of perspectives. But the nations are very keen about it now in terms of wanting to see us move forward with a major cultural event. And our objective will be to host it in 2025 at the Ovintiv Event Center. A hand games tournament, the earliest form of kind of competition and gambling within the Indigenous culture was the hand games tournament. It's crazy exciting game when you see it and you see the vibrancy of the drums and the competition of this hand games tournament, and it's rooted deeply within the Indigenous culture, and so we're really excited about that. So I'm working away right now on developing kind of the project plan for it, and working at putting some funding together. And we've got a grant writer in place now to do some grant writing to South Peace Mackenzie Trust, Northern Development Initiative Trust, Fabulous Fairs. We're going to partner with the college, and met with Todd and some of his folks at the college, so that we can leverage that, always looking at that education stream within anything we do. And there's the college with their life sciences and health education kind of components, the Trades Training Center. They'll have their arbor hopefully completed next year, and we can hopefully leverage and utilize that as a part of the event. And also like I say, the gymnasium as well, to be able to have another venue as well to put on the hand games tournament. And so for 2025, we're really working hard right now at putting the process together, and so what we're needing to do is to be able to see if we can get that support from council and the city to have access to the event center. Everything we're doing right now in terms of the grant funding requires that matching funding, and so anywhere where we can find either donations and or in kind will help us and leverage that grant funding that's available to be able to help us put this on. The Hand Games tournament is an example. There's one coming on up. They're ongoing almost every weekend. They're significant events, and there's one coming up in the Northwest Territories, I think, in June, and they'll have like 50, 60 teams to be able to compete with, each team having 5 or 6 participants. So the Hand Games tournament alone is a significant draw of people coming into our community, into the community, and so it turns into a major tourism event to benefit not only the community but the region, and also raise obviously the awareness, the education of the Indigenous culture. And in our region. So I'm really excited about the opportunity to do this, and got strong support. I've obviously talked to a number of the industry folks, and already the majority of them have indicated they're very interested in participating and will sponsor the event with us as well. So I wanted to raise it with council today about the idea and the concept that we are moving forward with. And again, we'll be looking for, hopefully, council support of the availability of the venue for the weekend event. So with that, I'll close, and happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Perfect. Thanks, Dale. I will open it up. Councillor Parslow.
Time blurs, but I remember the Dawson Creek powwow at the Memorial Arena, and I was representing the city and spoke at that. I forget the year, Dale, but I remember in the colourful way that First Nations have of putting you on the spot, I was asked, well, next time, Encana Event Centre. And that would be some years back, about 6 or 7 years back. So it's kind of, many things have interrupted the Dawson Creek powwow. So just a couple of questions. Obviously, this is a multi-day event. How many days? 3 days?
Yeah, I would hopefully, my objective right now is 3 days, so go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Traditionally, a powwow would start on Friday and on Sunday at 6, and that would be the objective, Charlie. I think to me, Councillor Parslow, it would be the objective to handle it on that basis. You got the Mercer Hall that you could utilize for the Hand Games tournament and use the main venue at the Event Center for powwow, tea dance, round dance, and then you use the concourse for the artisans to be able to display and sell their handicrafts and all of those types of things. So you could really, and then the college as well for theirs. So 3 days is the objective right now, is what we're planning for.
So how are we going to handle? Taylor has a powwow. I'm hoping that we'd have some gap between their event and ours. Or would it work if it is closer? What are your thoughts about that? Because there's a powwow circuit, isn't there? Yeah. And if people in Taylor, so how are you going to handle that?
Yeah, originally in 2021, when we developed this idea, I contacted Connie Greyeyes, who is a real lead in that Spirit of the Peace powwow in Taylor, and Gary Oker from Doig and Curtis Dickey from the Fort Nelson First Nation at the time, Prophet now. And so Connie, theirs is in June, the Spirit of the Peace powwow in Taylor, and there's a major, as you say, there's a major circuit of powwows throughout. So that'll be part of it, is how you facilitate and find the schedule for the date. Right now, I'm kind of more leaning and focusing around the Hand Games tournament because it seems like it's got a bigger draw and we can centralize it around it. And then the beaver is the tea dance, the round dance. And so, we've got to start to we'll start to put the organizing committee together on that and determine what we do, how we do it, and how we begin to make this an annual event and how we find that date. My original thoughts right now are May, June, or September, but that's all part of that planning mechanism we'll do. And then we engage those community representatives who are involved in other events as well to make sure that we make it consistent in a way that builds upon the circuit.
Well, I certainly agree that it will be a big draw. and could become a big major event, won't you also need, because camping is a big part of this as well and stuff, but won't you also need some use of the land around the Eventive Centre? And the tea dance is usually around a fire. Wouldn't that be an outside thing?
Yeah, so that's all part of the planning mechanism once we get the planning committee structured with the nations. Right now, we're really in these early stages. I just want to try and put the funding together, and you got to try and get the grant funding. So I'm just putting that kind of straw model together on that, Charlie. And exactly, it would be the hope that, like the Exhibition Association, we would use that land to the east of the event center to be able to have access for that for parking and RV parking.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Any other questions? Oh, Councillor Apollonio.
Thank you, Your Worship. And of course, nice to meet you, XM Dale. I normally address Dale XM. So yeah, I just want to emphasize. So I think we normally do our fall parade, and I think I want to see the First Nation to participate in our fall parade. So at least normally we participate, but I don't see our First Nation doing during their dresses or their rituals or something. So at least they will be more visible in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that Jana Coleman with the Naukan Friendship Center, Youth and Cultural Center was really pushing to try to build that more of a presence of the Indigenous presence at the Fall Fair and Rodeo. And I know that that's one area that they were really working hard on to develop that part of it. And I think the Indian relay races have added a huge attention and momentum to the fair as well in terms of that excitement of that cultural history of the relay races. So.
Good. Oh, thanks, Councillor Apollonio. We talk about culture and education and just that bridging of the gap, right? It's such a critical thing, and it excites me to hear this and just really if we can host something like this, just to learn about their culture, right? We're a very diverse region, and we're all in this, together as a whole. And it's how do we, learn each other's cultures and how do we move forward? And so looking forward to that in the education. So the ask, Dale, I guess as it gets closer or you get more info, I could see maybe it changing a little bit, knowing that it's the facilities. So because it's, if it's a 1 day facility thing, it's easy for us to say that, but this could be 3 days, could be it seems like there's a bigger picture to it. So is there one specific ask today, or is it just more that if the city is willing to work with?
Right now, Your Worship, it's just the 3 days. My objective is to put it on for 3 days: Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. Even when I talked to Dawson about the idea of maybe hosting on the Saturday evening or Friday evening, maybe we do an all Indigenous concert, right? And try to facilitate maybe that as an added kind of event and leverage in the facility. But it's 3 days right now, and if I can get that letter of support from council that they're prepared to provide us with the facility for those 3 days in kind, that gives me then the ability to leverage that into the matching funds of 30% or 50% matching to South Peace Mackenzie Trust. So you turn that, whatever that amount is, into another $20,000 or $30,000 for the event, right?
Okay. So I guess just for the 3 days of the facilities, not for food and other things.
Just the facility rental, itself. Whatever it would be, is just would assist in us leveraging that additional grant funding that would be available.
Okay, perfect. I think that's pretty clear. So, Kevin, that's pretty clear. You don't, Councillor Parslow?
Just one. Is the ultimate goal to make this an annual event?
Yeah.
Or semi-annual, whatever.
Would really be annual is what I would really like to see it evolve into. And, and Darcy, I think Your Worship talks about how strong the relationship building is that's going on in the region today. And the more that we can find ways to, I think, connect and facilitate those opportunities of building relationships. This to me, this isn't an event that we're going to use exclusively for the Treaty 8 or the Indigenous people, but welcome to everybody. and open up the experience of education to people to see the culture and the ceremonial dance and how important dance and music is and the songs are to Indigenous people. And it's all that learning. So, yeah, Councillor Parzo, really, hopefully that we'll turn it into an annual event and make it something that's on the calendar for everyone.
Yeah, I think that would be neat.
Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Parzo. Thanks, Dale, for coming in. I appreciate it, and glad you got to experience the morning here too.
Yeah, it was very good.
It was amazing. So
It's very good to be back.
Yeah.
It's very good to be back in council chambers. So, and well done, everybody. Appreciate all the work that everybody's doing, and new team here of new faces. So it's a great job. It's great to be here today.
Yeah,
thank you.
You bet. Thanks, Dale. Thank you. I didn't want to take away from the morning just before we break here. I just wanted to touch a little bit. Councillor Sudnick and myself had the pleasure to go down to the BC Rural Healthcare Conference, I guess, in Whistler on the weekend. And the City of Dawson Creek was awarded this award right here. So the Rural BC 2024 Community of the Year to the City of Dawson Creek. And it was really an honor to be down there. I mean, it wasn't the City of Dawson Creek or myself or Councillor Sudnick that we were up there accepting this award, but this award was because of our medical team in our city, the South Peace Division of Family Practice, the Chickadee Clinic, Dr. Magda Duplessis, like an unbelievable asset to our community, Charlie Rudy, the executive director there, but all of it was really a collaboration, and their colleagues, right? This is an award for all the doctors, all the medical staff. So I just wanted to touch on that this morning. I'm also going to give a little bit more of an update under mayor's updates, but I was just, if people were wondering what this was for, and I just didn't want to take away from the youth this morning and all their amazing accomplishments and stories. But yeah, it was phenomenal. So if there's any questions, it was extremely educational for myself and Councillor Sudnick. It was a great few days, a little bit over our heads with being with a lot of doctors, but it was great to see and really see the future potential where we can help to contribute to our communities, so in healthcare. So, but yeah, with that, I just wanted to share that, and then I was going to just call a break here, and we'll be back. Well, did you want to speak before I break, Councillor Parzo?
If we're going to hear the speech that you gave, are you going to redo it?
I will on break. It'll be a lot easier to do it here instead of in front of 250 or 300 healthcare professionals. So, but yeah, thank you. So we'll just break here for 15 or so. Back to order for Monday, May 27th, 2024. Next order of business was 2024 Strategic Priorities Chart. 3.1, 2024 Strategic Priorities Part. And then also 3.2 Strategic Priorities Action Plan Staff Update. We had one February 26th, 2024, April 29th, 2024. So I don't know if there was any questions any council had, or if Kevin, if you had any updates on it. So.
Just through your worship, just wanted to note that our next quarterly update will come at the July meeting. We have a meeting in July. So, yeah.
July, okay, thank you. Any questions? Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Worsh. Just through you to staff, I guess, just so we're all aware, I know we've had a conversation in the past with respect to the amazing job our staff have done with the ESS and evacuations up in Fort Nelson. And we do get some money back from the province on that, but the extent to which it does cannibalize our ability to actually pursue the city's agenda. So are we, how are we accounting for, because if this is going to become a yearly occurrence, that is something that we're going to have to build into our understanding of what our capacity is, and how we're accounting for that is obviously we lay out an ambitious strategic priority, and then the day-to-day operations of an emergency kind of take priority, understandably, but something that we maybe need to integrate into our expectations.
Yeah. So through your worship, thank you for that. Yeah, we've been chatting about that obviously over the last couple of weeks because it's certainly impacted our operation in a number of fronts, specifically recreation. We've had to cancel some programming and it's put a lot of pressure on staff away from the office, and which puts off a number of things like strategic priorities. We're strategizing around how or what the model can look like into the future, because I think we understand that as much as we don't like it, the reality is there's going to be more of these events into the future, I'm sure, which is unfortunate. But currently we're responsible, to stand up and provide those services for our neighboring communities. I think it's going to be a topic that we maybe at UBCM that we want to chat about, because I think every community has that struggle. So there's also opportunities to look at growing volunteer bases. There's opportunities to look at other models, such as maybe casual employees that we have the opportunity to train and activate when we have emergencies. And again, the funding comes from the province to offset that, but it's really the time. So if we can find ways to limit the amount of time that our full-time staff have to be engaged in things like ESS or EOCs, it's certainly helpful. We're currently trying to recruit an emergency manager, coordinator, whatever we call it, to take the lead on these this program and these types of events. But that's just one person. They'll have to be the ones that'll build the volunteer base that will have to do that, and that will have to take a little bit of time. But we recognize it, and it will certainly impact how things, just how much time staff are able to put towards some of these strategic priorities.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Earl. Thanks, Kevin. Meredith, anything else? No. Next, late items. I don't think there's any late items. 5, new councillor business. 5.1, we have memo from Councillor MacDonald regarding 2024 UBCM resolution, fast tracking international educated, trained and experienced healthcare workers. So, Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Your Worship. Coming back from NCLGA and discussions with many of our neighboring communities in the northern region, common narrative is the diversions we face within all our communities, hospitals, etc. And bringing this back, Councillor Kemp and I had discussed this, and just the need to advocate harder and further to our provincial government about the amazing assets we have in the north of internationally trained, educated, and experienced healthcare workers, from nurses to doctors and everywhere in between. And the true need for us to find a way to get these amazing local assets who have roots in our communities and want to stay in our community and provide to our community, we need to find a way to fast track them into being able to help and assist and keep our hospitals open. And that's why I brought this back, so that we could take it to UBCM and start the advocacy for this.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Were you going to propose a motion?
Yes, please. I'd like to propose that council authorize staff to draft a resolution to the Union of British Columbia Municipalities requesting that the province fast track the credential process for internationally trained healthcare workers. Further, that the province provide support to help ease the financial burden of extra expenses incurred to integrate into the health system.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Do I have a second? Councillor Kemp, any discussion? No? All right. I will call that motion to vote. Thank you. Oh.
Nope, I don't need to. I was going to say something.
They were already in queue for new councillor business, so. Waiting on somebody.
I've just entered the meeting.
Oh, well, welcome, Councillor Parslow. We've been waiting for you all morning. The vote is closed. It's carried. Yeah. It is, yeah.
That's your job, Greg.
Yeah.
That's your job.
Pardon me, talk to me.
You're the partisan regular, Greg.
All right, Councillor Earl?
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. Pardon me. I just wanted to make note that I was happy to attend and to congratulate the Dawson Creek Cooperative Union on the successful undertaking of their 102nd annual general meeting. In particular, I wanted to thank outgoing and retiring director Wayne Easard for his service on the board and welcome incoming director JJ Fellers.
Awesome. Thanks for attending.
Yeah.
And, thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Kemp?
Thank you, Worship. A couple things. I just wanted to congratulate Councillor MacDonald for securing a spot on the Board of Directors for the NCLGA. I have no doubt he will do a great job and represent the North very well. Secondly, I wanted to mention that the United Way Period Promise campaign is still going on for the month of May. So anyone has a chance to donate menstrual products to those in need or those that don't have the ability to access those products. There is a box here at City Hall. I know there is one at Safeway as well as on their website. You can go ahead and donate. So there's a couple more days to get those donations in, and all of those are local for the local community. One other thing I wanted to mention, I am again in the process of organizing a charity run. So for the 2 days in July 12th and July 13th, I'm going to run 5 kilometers every hour for 24 hours for a total of 120 kilometers in hopes of raising money for our local child development center as well as our local Young Life. So I'm kind of eager to get that going and start getting donations for that event.
Thank you, Councillor Kemp, and good for you. You better start training.
And congratulations, Councillor MacDonald. I was going to mention it later on, but yeah, congrats. So,
Councillor Apollonio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just attended the monthly Public Library Board meeting, and of course, I just want to congratulate one of our members was elected to the Northeast Library Federation, which is the first time that we became a member, and then our board member became a officer. So congratulations. Her name is Jennifer Combres. So thank you, and that's it. And we're doing well at the library. So they said thank you to the council.
Excellent. Thanks, Councillor Apollonio. Councillor Parslow, since you're here, you can
Yes, no, I've
you can have the
attended
floor.
the meeting.
We appreciate
First,
you
I
attending.
want to say I was delighted that my colleagues, Councillor Earl and MacDonald, were at the Art Gallery auction. Appreciated their presence. It's duly noted, and support for the arts and the Art Gallery is very important. And it was a very successful event, sold out, and I think it was very well organised, and we wish them well. On a sad note, let's start on a positive note. I'm pleased to share with Council that the indoor range was certified. We'll get documents in the next month or two, and it is considered to be possibly the second best indoor range in BC. When that will become operational that's up to the existing executive. Unfortunately, the rest of the range has to be closed. Not a surprise, perhaps to me, but to others, I'm sure it was quite a surprise. A number of deficits were noted by the inspection, and hopefully the action will be taken to correct the deficiencies so that it will be reopened. So it's indefinitely closed at the present time. The indoor range, who knows, that may be open once certification, but that's, again, up to the executive. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. All right, any other new councillor business? All right, next order of business, 6, adoption of minutes. We have 6.1 minutes of the regular meeting of council held on May 13th, 2024 for adoption. Councillor Sudnick, second. Councillor Earl. We'll call that to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Any business arising? No? All right. 8, correspondence. 8.1, we have a letter from James Maxwell, Dawson Creek Triathlon Association. Received on April 12th, 2024 regarding a request for support for the July 14th triathlon. I know in my time here the last 3 years, this has come up every year. Is there anything different on this request, Kevin? Besides maybe that last line in there, but I don't think it creates.
Yeah, so through your worship, I think it's pretty typical of what we've seen in years past as typical request.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Parslow?
I'd like to move that we support this event and use the framework of this letter for administration to work with the annual Dawson Creek Triathlon to hold the 2004 event as per their requests.
2024 event?
24, sorry. I like to think back to the good old days when I was
This is the good old days right here. Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Do I have a second? Councillor Kempf? Any discussion? No? All right, I will call that motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, 8.2, we have letter from Mona McNalley, Manager, Step Up and Ride Society, received on May 2nd, 2024 regarding a request for additional financial assistance. So, okay, Councillor Sudnick is just going to step away as he's got a bit of a conflict with this one. So. All right. I guess, I don't know if there's much to say before we open this up, Kevin. Like it's, I know that there was some discussion that maybe we'll just get to it, that we saved some funding on our transit this year. I don't know if you wanted to speak to that, Kevin, or I can, but there was a little bit of the way it was put into our budget and the way that it was calculated. It actually turned out that there wasn't a saving this year. We took the total and minus the revenue we would have got from the customers using it, and then we claimed the revenue somewhere else. So it was a little bit of a mix-up in the budget. So there actually wasn't room, and the service didn't come in under budget, and it likely now will be a little bit over budget. So we'll deal with that at a later time. But I know there was some discussion about that with this. So I just wanted to get that out before we get a motion on this. So, Councillor Parslow.
Yes, I'd like to make a few comments about this. First of all, I'm sure everybody who's had any interaction with Step Up and Ride Society really appreciates its presence and work in this community. It is my impression and recollection that when previous administration were looking at alternatives to the current BC Transit system, this Step Up and Ride was approached about whether they could fill a gap or even provide some alternative. It is my impression, it is my impression that they declined, saying that they were fully, they were up to their neck, so to speak, and all they could do. And now I'm reading that they adjusted things a little bit. I think there needs to be some dialogue around, we should suspend any action on this until we've had some dialogue around what's the direction we're taking with providing support for those who have a need for being transported in the community. And we re-engage with the Step Up and Ride and other people to work to some more sustainable framework for dealing with the needs that are articulated by the presence of Step Up and Ride and transit in our community.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Did you want to make a motion, maybe just directing staff to work with?
I would like to move that staff approached Step Up and Ride and talked about future plans, future needs, and consider the response in coming up with some direction for transportation support services in this community.
Have a second? Councillor Earl? Do we need to add into there, like maybe that it's something that's considered into the 2025 budget process, or do you think that would be something that after this you could bring back?
Yeah. So through your worship, I think the motion is appropriate because it is a bit unknown. Councillor Parslow is correct. We have engaged with Step Up and Ride a couple of times. One back probably 2017, 2018 originally, and then as recent as last fall, and talked about options. And they had indicated that they were pretty much at capacity. They didn't have the means to take on additional routes, additional riders, even if there was funding that came along with it. So it was kind of left at that. Now we see that they have taken on additional riders and are, you know, at a cost, understandably, and that they're looking for some financial support. So we can circle back and have those conversations and see if maybe there's been a change in their situation. Maybe they've got some additional staff or whatever, and means to take on some more. And with some financial support, maybe they could fill some of those gaps. So I think the first thing is have those conversations, see where they're at, and then we can report back to council and go from there.
Okay, thank you. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just for clarity, did I read right that they're asking for 64,000? Is that what they're actually asking for to make up the shortfall?
I think from what I understand from the letter, there's not a clear ask, just saying that these burdens are, you know, these, I guess, opportunities in their life that were put on them, that's just the excess cost. I don't know if you're understanding that
Your
differently.
Worship, I would agree. I think they're making a statement that it has cost them, and they're asking for some financial support, and they didn't really specify how much, but they were trying to make it clear that there's been additional costs.
I guess the other part of that, Kevin, is, you know, say today if council was wanting to go down that avenue, like in 2024 budget, is there room?
Yeah, so through your worship, I mean, it's a little early to say, and I would hate to start doing that now. I think that it's something that would be a 25 budget discussion to be appropriate.
Yeah, I thought I would ask, so, okay.
Because it says in there, at this time, if council is able to offer more financial assistance to our society to make up the shortfall of BC Transit, we would very much appreciate it. And I'm just wondering, is the shortfall the 64,000? What is the actual shortfall there? Because I couldn't really decipher it from there, right? And I appreciate what Mr. Parslow or Councillor Parslow is saying, but I don't want us to give the impression when we go in there to discuss further services that we're holding this financial assistance for their shortfalls this past year as leverage to try and force them into working with us in the future, right? I would prefer that we take care of what's been done in the past and then try and come up with a way to move forward.
But I think from what I'm understanding from the motion in this is that, one, if they're asking for that help now, it's kind of not clear exactly. So one, finding that out, but two, that's understandable, but what does that mean to retain this for the future growth? And like, is this an expectation that's going to be an annual one, or how do we contribute? And I think that's the information I'd like to see before making a decision on this, but yeah. Councillor Earl?
Yeah, I think it's best to proceed with Councillor Parslow's motion. I adore Step Up and Ride and the work they do, but we have had multiple conversations with them about, backstopping this service if it's required. And at the time, they stated that they weren't in a position to do so. So to then be put in a position to have to retroactively compensate them for a job they said they weren't interested in or couldn't do doesn't set a good precedent for how we budget either. So I think it's best that we circle back around with them and have a conversation. And if more funding is ultimately what's required or where we land, I think it's important that we have an understanding beforehand going into it, what that looks like, not something we're asked after the fact to make whole, because that's not, that wasn't the discussion we had.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, I think what Councillor Earl has just said is, it nails it. I just want to reiterate that I'm looking for ultimately some permanent solution to the good use of taxpayers' money and meeting the real needs of those people who do need support. I think enough's been said about the previous dialogue, and I don't want to throw a Band-Aid out without some context for the future. And so we move forward, but it's certainly not meant to be, what's the word, a club over Step Up and Ride's head. Far from it, but I just think we need to know where we're going, what we're doing, and is this and is this extra need going to be something that we plan for in our budget, its future budget expenses, but without a solid, rational basis for what we're doing, I get very agitated about all the needs we have for taxpayers' dollars, and yet we have something here that is so obviously not working and is totally underused.
Yeah.
And but certainly to my colleague, Councillor MacDonald, no, this group is such a good group for the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't want to play any games with them at all.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor Apollonio?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a curiosity, I'm not sure how it goes. Is there any, like, the BC Transit could provide some fund for the step up and ride, because they filling the gap for them? So is there any funding from BC Transit that could provide for them, so at least to augment some financial burden?
So through your worship, it's a good question. I don't know if there is some grant opportunities that might be available for this, particular type of service. Something we can look at. I mean, currently, our current transit system that we have, BC Transit funds approximately half of that, and we fund the other half. So I'm not sure that they'd want to fund a competitor, so to speak, somebody that may take additional ridership away from them. But agreed that, whatever transit looks like into the future, I think Step Up and Ride plays a big role, or that type of service plays a big type of role in the community.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Councillor Apollonio. All right, if there's no more discussion, I will call that motion to vote. Oh, I'm sorry, Tab.
Sorry, through your worship, for clarification, did I hear that council would like to defer the letter until staff meet with the group? Because there's a ask in the letter, so will we bring the letter back when staff brings back the report?
Yeah, I would think that's what the intent was. I mean, to get more information so we can understand what's the ask is today and for into the future. Is that correct, Councillor Parslow?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, okay. Is that good, Tab? Okay. All right, I will call that motion to vote. Everybody's clear on the motion? Okay. Vote is closed. It's carried. Did somebody... Oh. Right, our next order of business, 8.3, we have letter from Connie Greyeyes, President, Spirit of the Peace Powwow, received on May 17th, 2024, regarding an invitation to participate in the annual Spirit of the Peace Powwow. Councillor Parslow.
I move that we receive this for information.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. I have a second. Councillor MacDonald. Any discussion on receiving for information? No? All right, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, 8.4, we have letter from Meagan Longley, Secretary, Dawson Creek Pride Society, received on May 18th, 2024, regarding a request pride flag raising on May 31st. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Worship. I move that we grant Dawson Creek Pride Society's request.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Do I have a second? Councillor MacDonald. Any discussion? I will call this motion to vote. You didn't want to discuss, did you? No. Okay. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, we have an email from Aaron Powell, Executive Director from Bannister, Dawson Creek, received on May 21st, 2024, regarding a request to use city barricades from May 29th to June 2nd. Councillor Parslow.
Can I question? Can I have
Absolutely.
information?
Yeah.
I'm not speaking against this, but do we traditionally provide barricades for private businesses to use?
Do you want?
So through your worship, not typically unless they are holding or doing some type of event on a city street that would require closure. This is on private property.
I can maybe add a little bit to it because this isn't an event just not that benefits them, but I also, it's being held on the Northern Lights College property. I also did speak with Mr. Bondroff the other day just in regards to this, and he didn't say for sure, but because he'd need to ask that department, but he's pretty certain that we could just drop those barricades off and their team there, we could kind of work in partnership with the college, but we kind of had that same discussion, Councillor Parslow, because you can't do things to benefit business, but I believe this is an event for our region, not benefiting business. Councillor Parslow?
I move that we grant the request.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councillor MacDonald? Discussion? Councillor Earl?
I guess I'd just add a piece of context to alleviate the concerns of anybody who is concerned about benefiting business. The Rock the Peace event is open and includes all the auto dealerships in town, so it's not any one specific business. It would be an industry-wide. For what it's worth, and I support this as well.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Any other discussion? I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, 9 reports. 9.1, we have report number 24-066 from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding exempt and management overtime policy amendment. Councillor Sudnick.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that report number 24-066 from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding exempt and management overtime policy amendment be received. Further, that Council adopt the amended exempt and management overtime policy to include exempt and management staff overtime wages at the rate of time and a half for the first 2 hours and double time for all other hours worked when assigned to an emergency task number issued by the province.
Thank you, Councillor Sudnick. Do I have a second? Councillor MacDonald. And I guess, I don't know if to clarify, for us, it's reading through this report, at first I had questions, but then when you realize it's about an emergency task, so this is related if, an ESS center or the provincial government has awarded an emergency task number that's just in regards to that. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, I'll call that motion to vote. Vote is closed and it's carried. Next, 9.2, we have memo from the executive assistant regarding meeting requests for the 2024 UBCM convention. So I guess a little bit just before we get into this, it's a couple things. Sorry, I was just pulling this up here. There was a meeting that I guess the province had in regards to UBCM and what this one will look like because it's an election year. They actually dropped their IP 3 days after this. So one of the things was, as you know, our requests to meet with ministers, they're in caretaker mode, as they call it. So there'll be no, it's really for information. It's kind of, you know, they don't know where they'll be if they get back in. They're not sure if they'll be in that ministry. So that makes it a little tough to you know, not even tough, it's just educational. So if that's what we're going for. The other part is they've also said this year that you can have 30 minutes with ministers' teams, so with their staff. So I guess it's something that we need to discuss as a council. Like, I know generally, you know, our policy is that we all go each year, or we all can. Being that it's an election year and that, we're not sure, like, if everybody feels the value in us all going. If not, if only half went or whatever, like maybe that would determine how many meetings we're going to reach out for. I think there's probably 3 or 4 critical ones that would be good, that are important for the city's future. That would be good to meet with some of the minister staffs. But, you know, for me, last year was my first one, and it's very valuable to meet with those ministers and to build those relationships. You don't get a lot in that 15 minutes. It's more about relationship building. But knowing that they're in caretaker mode this year, I don't see much benefit personally to me sitting in those. So, yeah, so I just wanted to kind of add that first, that Kathy sat in on that, and that was kind of what came from that. So I guess, should we get a motion on the floor first, or? Oh, I forgot about that. Okay. I'm going to vary the agenda. Yeah, so we will deal with this when I get back, so sorry about that. Getting all of you all excited and your buttons are pushed, so. All right. I'm going to vary the agenda to 16. Thanks for that. Committee of the Whole report, 16.1, report from the Staff Sergeant. Welcome, Staff Sergeant Hughes.
Thank you. Good morning.
I was a little off my game. I forgot that you were coming this morning, and it was 11 o'clock. So, yeah, Councillor Parslow said you could wait, and
that's just because he's related. Because he's related to the RCMP family. So.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. I won't. I'll go as quickly as I can through this. And thank you for varying the schedule to accommodate me.
You're welcome.
Where are we at? So stats accumulated for the year from January to the end of April. Our staffing's looking to be in good shape. We still have 2 members off duty long term. So we're meeting with those members now regularly to determine what they actually need to come back. In the RCMP, we have, once a member goes off for whatever reason, the longer they're off, the harder it is to come back. Just the culture of any job place and being away from the people that you are normally around. So we're doing what we can, Sergeant and I, both meeting with them regularly just to make sure that they still know they're part of our family, regardless of what they're off for or how long they're off, and that we're getting very positive results. One of them is due back, we're hoping, here in July. So that's very positive. We have 3 constable positions that are vacant right now. We've had one of our members that was going to transfer out to another northern posting has canceled that and will be staying here in our community. So that's fantastic. Excellent. For us. Keeps that higher level of experience here in the community. We've just had 2 now come from depot from Saskatchewan training. So the second one has shown up now. Both excellent fits. The one, his brother works in Vanderhoof. So he's close to family here. He actually wanted to come north, which is somewhat of a rarity. Yeah. So that's very refreshing to see that. He's into his second block now and doing very well. Constable Waberchuk, who's soon to be Corporal Waberchuk, will be replacing Corporal Graham Hartle. Graham is due out. I think he's going to be leaving in July just to accommodate the school year for his children in his new post. And the last I heard, Corporal Waberchuk is in the process of selling his home. I'm not sure what the market's like in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, where he's coming from. So that's our staffing. It's actually it's looking pretty good and positive into the future. Like I spoke last time at the detachment commanders meeting in Smithers, they spoke of depot training in Regina actually producing more people to E Division than we're losing this year for the first time in 5, 6, 7 years. So it's recruiting is looking good for us. Crime trends. So again, from year to date, there is a typo. If anyone has this printed off, our crime total reports are down. They're not up. The number it's only 0.4% of a change, but it is down to 2,610 files from 2,621 is where I got confused. About the same split between the city and rural. Into our individual stats, theft of vehicle it's up. It's way up. It's up 120%. January showed an increase of 500%. February was down to 200%. So we're coming down to where it's considered normal. Believe me when I say that there's almost nothing that drives us crazier than people stealing things. The theft, the property crime is on everyone's mind. It's a hot topic. It affects everyone and to some degree. So we are doing what we can with this. We still have an abnormally high number of vehicles that are stolen, left running, left keys in it. Spare keys were in the glove box. Our take vehicle without consent files fall into this category as well. And we've had 4 or 5 in the last couple of months that is part of this total of 44, where people known to each other that are in the drug trade are taking each other's vehicles, and then when that vehicle is used in a crime and it's observed or caught or seen, the person is calling it in stolen. So until we sort all those out and either lay charges of public mischief or deal with ICBC, those files are scored as a reported theft of vehicle, and sometimes they can take months to sort out. So that scoring will level itself out at some point, but hasn't yet for some of these. We did do a search warrant up in Rolla just in last week and recovered 4 stolen vehicles and a stolen boat. That was from an air tag. Somebody put an air tag in their vehicle and hid it and buried it. So we're able to write a search warrant for the property saying, this air tag is owned by this person. It's theirs. Here's the serial number of it. Explain how the air tag system works, the accuracy of it, and it was a fairly straightforward search warrant. Allowed us to go on the property and recover a bunch of other stolen stuff. Wow. So good work on our people there. Our theft from vehicles are down about half, which is good. Break-in enters, both categories, residential and business, are both down. Combined for 2023, those two combined were 52, and combined for this year, they're 42. So we like to see those down, keeping doors locked. Neighborhood watch, our rural crime watch, our citizens on patrol, the other citizens groups that are out patrolling and making themselves visible is a big help. Our assault with a weapon, aggravated assault, this is all of our assault files together. Still showing a decrease of 12. I know sometimes with social media and the public perception with the increased level of violence that some people will look at that and think, how is that possible? But it's our total number of files that are down. So we continue to work with Regional GIS, with General Investigation Section, our Major Crime Section, with all the files that are going on. We had, 2 weeks ago, we had a shooting event right on 8th where 2 groups of people known to us, known to each other, were in a dispute, and one decided it was going to shoot at the other one driving down 8th at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. So it's proving who was driving, who was a shooter, that kind of thing that can take months and months and months. So we have an idea who they are, but we can't put charges through to court on what we know. Charges go to court on what we can prove. So that's why there's delays in those. Our sexual assault, sexual interference, again, like I say, every month there's all different kinds of factors that factor into these stats. This is everything with a sexual nature, including sexting, which is a big contributing factor to these. We usually see a big spike in these in June, July, August when the kids are out of school, but our numbers are down. Drug trafficking files are down. It's a 25 decrease, but it's a difference of 1 file from 4 to 3. And we expect to see a difference and a rise in this stat, not because the problem is increasing, but because of the recent changes to decrim. So a little bit on the decrim piece. One of the things about putting charges forward is there a significant risk to public safety? In my opinion, as a commander of Dawson Creek RCMP, any drug use in public, anywhere that the public can pass through, is a significant risk to public safety. So we will be targeting, we will be enforcing, we will be putting the charges through to Crown. We will be confiscating the drugs, we will be taking them away, we will not be giving them back if you're using drugs in public. Needles in playgrounds, drug paraphernalia in playgrounds around daycare is absolutely unacceptable. With the revisions to decrim, we will be enforcing it. So that number is going to increase. Impaired driving is down from 45 to 28, a 38% decrease. Our motor vehicle collisions from 104 to 109 is only a difference of 5%, and only a difference in 5 files. So our theft shoplifting is up 22%. A couple of people were released from jail. Has a little bit of a factor to that. Some new people come into town. There is a school bus, we'll say a black school bus, that was in town. So these numbers for next month will also probably increase a little bit, is my expectation. We've dealt with that bus now. We've seized it, and it was just a traveling crime bus. Call after call after call after call, and the people on that bus were walking around in packs of 2 and 3 and down alleys and stealing anything that they could steal that they could sell for scrap: batteries, propane tanks, anything that they could get their hands on. So thank you to the concerned citizens and the general public and people that called in that allowed us to be able to target that bus and shut it down, basically. So very happy and excited about that. Our mental health files increase 14%, and those are going to keep increasing. I've spoken about that month after month after month. The expectation is that's just going to keep increasing. Unspecified assistance, again, this is going to also continue to increase, and these are the files again that are not necessarily police related files, or police's job to take care of these files. Somebody walking down an alley, there's nothing to enforce somebody walking down an alley. However, we do appreciate the calls when someone says, hey, there's somebody walking down an alley, can you come and check it out? And a police car rolls through and changes, it's been proven to change the behavior of the community, of the neighborhood, of the immediate area for a certain amount of time. It's debatable how long that is, but we do know that it has a positive effect on the area and the neighborhood. So we like those calls. Keep them up, please. Our citizens on patrol, we continue to meet with the COPS coordinators and the Rural Crime Watch. They've now moved their meetings to the same night, so they're one after the other. So I try and go to many of those as I can. We don't have a designated liaison for them at this point. That we're hoping to change that with the arrival of the new recruits, the new members, and designating one per watch. What we had before my arrival was a member would come in and they would get designated to be the liaison while they're on training, and then the meetings would move around, and the watch schedule is an 8-day rotation. So you're 2 days, 2 nights, and then you're off for 4. So what happens is having that member come in on their time off or when they're away out of town, they start missing the meetings. So I just started doing them all myself and going to them to try and get a better handle on what was going on with the community. It seems to be working, but I think it's time now to pass that back to the watches and have a designated liaison as we increase our membership. Violence suppression efforts continue. We have a violence suppression shift as an overtime shift dedicated in Dawson Creek here, and that is 2 members working together in one vehicle, and they go out on an overtime shift and they specifically target our people that have curfews, that have warrants, specific conditions, and just target those people and make sure that they are abiding by their conditions. And it's proven quite effective. Peace Region Crime Reduction Unit updates. This is in the hands now of Criminal Operations at E Division. So E Division is RCMP British Columbia. So we call them CROPS. So the CROPS officer has this package as it stands today, I believe. It will go before the Honourable Farnworth, and it'll make its way through Parliament. There's a huge provincial financial. Sorry, I don't know what the word is.
Ask to it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge ask. So it's been proven. They did a pilot a couple of years ago, and it's been proven to be effective. So we're hoping that the province is on board with that, and it moves through its chain fairly quickly. It's expected to be another year or so. So that is where we are at. We have a couple of human remains files that the detachment and major crime regional GIS is still working on. No positive identification have been made. I know that there is some confusion with the one that was the file that we're working on at the end of Parkland Road because family was notified. So family was notified with the information that was given out of respect for the family and to try and not have them hanging. And then that family has they've gone public with some of their plans. So as it stands right now, the RCMP we're kind of at the hands of the coroner, waiting for DNA analysis to have 100% confirmation on both of those. Dental records for the two are there's different status on each of those files. So the recovered on 219 Road is in a little bit different situation than the one at Parkland Road. So it's about all I can say with those. We continue to investigate with the insistence of major crime on the other 2 higher profile missings. And then again, there's some historical missing people that any new information that ever comes in on those files, we continue to investigate them. These files are never closed. They always remain open. They're reviewed annually or biannually just to make sure. Someone will go through them and check and run a whole new set of checks just to see if anything popped up on any of these files. So it's not like, we kind of exhausted our efforts and they just get pushed to the side. And if something new shows up, then we start on them again. It's not how it works. So we do continue to work on them.
Perfect.
Hopefully that was quick.
Yeah, that was great. Just before I open up to council, I just wanted to thank you for coming in today, and also I hope we appreciate you and your whole team. But just when you're, I really appreciate your effort and willingness to work with community groups and on how that has brought the community and region and rural all back together to work together. So I really appreciate your leadership on that. I know you spent a lot of time out in the community and engaging with a lot of, not just these groups, but a lot of groups. So appreciate that. I thought one really big thing that you brought up was the air tags, because I didn't know about that before, but I mean, they're, obviously if they're that beneficial to you, I mean, they're a pretty insignificant cost to people. I think they're $30 or $40. They're small, can be hidden anywhere. I have a couple, and I know when I go traveling or go out, take the RV out, it's beeping the whole time at me saying, your vehicle is gone. So I wanted to touch on that. Also on the auxiliary program, I know you've got one member for sure, but you did a barbecue, I think it was last week, and I stopped by there, and
your young new member that was there was the perfect salesman because he sold me on the auxiliary program.
Yeah.
But it was just good to see, and there was seemed like a steady flow of residents and people coming up. But he did an amazing job. Like, he was unbelievable at his speech to it, and And then finally, I just wanted to comment that it was nice to see that you are human and made a mistake in your report, because you don't seem to make too many of them. So I figured I would point that out. So.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll try and make at least one mistake each month if that works.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we can play a little game. Maybe we'll have a prize or something.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Staff Sergeant. Always good to have you here. So I guess one or two things. I guess the first one, obviously, is the added overtime shift with the 2 officers going around checking that people are abiding by the conditions of their release or pre-trial release. That's great to hear. Obviously, when it comes to prolific offenders, that's a great way to ensure that their ability to reoffend is curtailed. I guess the question I have is, since these conditions are being imposed by the courts, and I think it's great you guys are doing, but what responsibility does the courts, through like the sheriff's office, have for ensuring people are complying with these conditions? And why is it landing solely on you, given that they're the ones who are releasing people based on these conditions?
Thank you. Yeah. We are the enforcement entity. The courts, we do the investigations, we do the enforcement at the direction of the court. BC sheriffs are not an enforcement agency in British Columbia. Alberta they are, but British Columbia they're not. So it falls on us simply for that reason. We're the police of jurisdiction. When the court imposes conditions, whether we agree with them or not, it's just it's that simple.
No, I appreciate the clarification. I'm always thinking, though, the added degrees of separation between the courts and the people they're letting out on conditions. Sometimes if you could, make it more visible to them as opposed to offloading onto you guys, maybe they'd be a bit more mindful of repeatedly letting out people who demonstrate they're unable or unwilling to abide by those conditions. So, but thank you for the clarification. I guess the second question I have is just now that the changes have been made to decriminalization, are you seeing a change in patterns of behavior from people who were engaging in that kind of problematic behavior, or has the message arrived home, or is it going to take some added work on your end? Because and I'm not being glib about it, I'm just thinking, decriminalization came in January 31st of 2023?
Yes.
So it's a year and a half. So conceivably there are people who, in that year and a half have fallen into addiction and have only ever, been experiencing these issues in a world where there were no legal recourse for using drugs in public, brandishing public. I guess the point May is, even though the federal and provincial governments are making an effort to reestablish those guardrails, once they're down, they don't just pop back up overnight. There's social norms and things that go along with that. Are you finding that change is occurring already, or is it something that you're going to have to put some extra effort into helping to reestablish?
So the quick answer to the question is no. We haven't seen a difference much at all. It's fairly new, and we haven't even gone through a whole month now for it to reflect in our stats. Like, you'll see that our drug possession trafficking went from 4 to 3. So the people that suffer from the addictions that are out in the public eye, that are causing the perception, they have been used, like you say, they've been used to now for a year and a half being able to take part in these activities without interaction from us. the general public, the people that call us and tell us about this kind of stuff and make the complaints, make the reports, have also been conditioned over the last year and a half to not. Whereas, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, if somebody was, smoking a meth pipe sitting on the sidewalk, we would get a phone call. Whereas over the last year and a half, that has declined because of decriminalization. So it'll take some time to get that shift back in the direction that we needed to go under the new legislation. And the primary reason for us is nothing other than public safety. Kids should not have to go into a playground and worry about sliding down a slide and getting a needle in their foot that somebody dropped carelessly in the bark mulch. Nobody should have to worry about their child getting cut by broken glass from a crack pipe. It's just not acceptable. So we're going back in a step in the right direction. There is a bunch of reasonings and rationale behind decrim that I can't comment on. There's pros and cons to it. The idea, the direction, the thought, the heart behind it, I believe was good. But public safety has to win somewhere. So that's where we're at with it. So it will take some time.
Okay. Yeah, you'll get no argument from me on that. I just, with respect to how I guess we maybe as an organization can aid in educating the public to once again, or encouraging the public to once again, if you see someone phones up this. So that may be something we can have a more of a conversation on later. But thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Parslow.
So you made a mistake. You need to know.
Councillor Parslow keeps track of these.
I have a saying, to err is human, to forgive is divine. And I often use that in my reflections to about the mayor's mistakes. But
I appreciate you.
Just a comment about decriminalization. I mean, I fully applaud what you said about the zero tolerance, if you like, if I can use that expression. But the way it came across to me, right, it was your decision. Would it be different in Fort St. John or Prince George, or were you just, is this zero tolerance approach in every detachment?
So zero tolerance is, I'll correct the zero tolerance perception, because it's not, zero tolerance is a very dangerous message to send out. And to clarify, it won't be a zero tolerance as far as charge approval. We won't be arresting everybody for everything. We will be interacting with everyone for everything. We will be taking drugs away from people, whereas before we weren't allowed to take it away, and if we seized it, we were giving it back. So under the new legislation, anything that we're allowed to seize, we will be seizing. We're going to have to wait a little while to see our charge approval process in British Columbia. We have regional charge approval. Most of the rest of the country, the police lay the information, they lay the charges themselves. British Columbia, regional charge approval system, it's usually 3-4 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. The bigger the offense, the more complex the investigation, the further out charge approval is. So we have yet to see, and it's Crown's decision, not the police's decision, what we put forward for charges, what will be approved and what won't be. So that's going to take a little bit of time to see, and I would imagine that's 3 to 4 months to get a feeling of how that's going to go. Regardless of Crown's decision to charge or not, if you're using drugs in public, contrary to the law, expect an interaction with the police.
And that statement is being applied in pretty well all detachments in the province, right?
I can't speak to what.
So you're just talking about.
I'm talking about Dawson. This is our direction here at Dawson Creek.
Yeah.
Me as the commander, this is what my direction is to my people here.
Yeah.
How Dawson or how Fort St. John or how Prince George, the law is the same. Mm-hmm. We do have. We're going to have to wait a little bit to see how Crown is going to react to the charge approval process for this.
Yeah. So. No, I appreciate your approach. By the way,
I would hope most people do.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of notes here about the auxiliary. Did I get the wrong impression? Are you signing up as an auxiliary? Did you?
I was sold on it. I got the paperwork sitting on my desk. I haven't committed yet.
Well, I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Yes, it'd be.
I would like to fill it out, though.
Maybe Councillor Sudnick and Earl will follow in your footsteps.
Yeah. What about yourself?
No, I'm too old. I'm too old. Okay, I had another point here. Oh yes, this incident, 10 o'clock Sunday morning. You know that you referred to. Just a comment. I witnessed that. I was trapped in traffic, but just to add to that, it was remarkable that nobody got hurt through a traffic accident. And that incident there, because apart from the obvious danger to the community and public of gunfire, reckless driving that I saw with a truck that had no license plate on it. My wife's fairly excitable, but she was screaming, thinking there was going to be a serious accident, because driving on the wrong side of the road and making a sharp left turn into the prevailing traffic, it was asking for an accident to happen. So I'm just saying it isn't just gunfire, but the recklessness associated not just with the gunfire, but if you like, the driving of the vehicles is just the wild, wild west gone wrong. Yeah, it was very bad.
It shows the disrespect for the court that people have when they're released on conditions. Now, not to say that these people are released on conditions, but the people involved. For example, we had a file up in Rolla last week where somebody who is released on court conditions not to be in a motor vehicle even without specific conditions met, not even allowed to be in a motor vehicle. And they were involved with a crash. Somebody was seriously injured. That person is now in Prince George Hospital. The driver and the passenger both fled. We now have the services of a drone pilot here at the detachment. He's not a regular member, but he is employed through the RCMP. So we sent the drone pilot and the police dog out. Fortunately for the two individuals, our members, an hour later, were able to intercept them on foot before the dog got there. But now we do have that ability to fly a drone to find people that are leaving. The point that I'm getting to is the person was released on conditions not to be in a motor vehicle, and they were still driving and still seriously injured somebody. So it shows the disregard for human safety, the disregard for anyone other than themselves when stuff like this is going on in the community. And I don't know how to describe it other than disgusting. So we do our part on our investigations. We put the charges through to Crown, and then Crown and the courts have their process. So unfortunately, some people are still released on conditions not to be in a motor vehicle and don't abide by those conditions. So this is part and parcel to our violence suppression shifts and curfew checks and our officers getting out and knowing the community so that they know the people that are the offenders, and they can identify them as they're driving along and see them in vehicles. And they're not just driving along in a cloak of anonymity. So scary. It's scary.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Thank you, Staff Sergeant, for taking the time to come in today to discuss this, but really just to you and your team. Yeah, we appreciate it, and not just we as in a community appreciate what you're doing, so thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
As far as the auxiliary program, I believe that there's 2. We're working on a 3rd now.
Oh, good.
To get them signed up. There's a little bit of a process, and then just keep things lighthearted. The member that was out doing our the barbecue with Rural Crime Watch and COPS program was Constable Thornton. Constable Thornton did not recognize the mayor, and tried to pitch him an auxiliary program, and then identified himself as Constable Hughes once it was determined that he was talking with the mayor. So I did get a text from the mayor saying that was it that I'd lost weight or that I would look younger or grew some hair or something. So very much appreciative. And on that note, on my final note, things like that and the communication that I have with mayor and council and being able to have texts and communication like that on more of a friendly level is more appreciated than you could ever imagine. So thank you for that.
It's good to hear.
Thank you.
Perfect.
You as well.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't think so, no. Thank you, Staff Sergeant.
Next month, I'll expect a question or a comment from the side of the room.
Okay, perfect. Well,
so you can delegate.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, they got lists of questions, so yeah. Okay. Thank you, Staff Sergeant.
Thank you.
I know we're on a little bit of a time crunch. I need to take a couple-minute break to take care of myself, but I'm not going to be longer than 2 minutes, so do what you need to, and we'll be right back. Our regular council meeting with the Committee of the Whole for Monday, May 27th, 2024, back to order. So I'm going to vary the agenda again, actually. 9.2 is going to be a little bit longer one, so we're going to skip to 10 bylaws. 10.1 zoning bylaw number 4582, 2024 for consideration of third reading and adoption. Councillor Sudnick, second. Councillor Kempf. All in favor? And I shouldn't say it's going to be a longer one, 9.2. It just could be. So potential too. Sorry, Tab, I said I was going somewhere else, but I'll call that motion to vote. Please vote, Councillor Parslow.
Greg, come on.
Greg, that's twice. Come on.
Vote is closed. Carried. Next order of business, 11 mayor's business, 11.1 mayor's update. So U18 legacy presentation. So I think we've said this 1,000 times from this side and from our whole city team. A huge shout out to the whole organizing committee, everybody involved to make the event successful. So I'm not going to get too much more into that because this event was about a legacy presentation to donors that received in the community, but also to the contribution from the business community. So I'm going to list them off. So there's a huge thank you to all the U18 Women's National Championship sponsors, Parrish and Heimbecker, Ovintov, Deep Physio, MLA Bernier, Bay Tree Store, Mountain View Safety, Pomeroy Lodging and Rural Destination Marketing Fund, Bannister Group, Tim Hortons, Municipal District of Saddle Hills, West Moberly First Nations, Soto First Nations, District of Chetwynd, and the Peace River Regional District. So once again, it was an unbelievable experience to have a majority of these folks in a room to really, we have so many amazing leaders in our community that contribute over and over again to give back, but just to recognize them in the room was amazing. So a huge shout out to them. And to thank you. I'd also like to, part of the legacy goals of this event is to give dollars directly back into the community. So this was also amazing to have all of these organizations in the room as well, and really what they do in our community, it is amazing. But so I'd like to, Northern Lights College Foundation, Dawson Creek Minor Hockey, Step Up and Ride, our Christian Youth Center, School District 59, South Peace Child Development Center, Networks Ministry, Nowakin Friendship Center, the St. Mark's Food Bank, Dawson Creek Old Timers, KFC Old Posts, the Mile Zero Figure Skating Club, and the Mountain Christian School and Notre Dame School. So once again, it was, the event was amazing. And to me, the big legacy of the event was how it inspired youth. So this was just amazing to be able to recognize and to give back to these. So all of these organizations receive contributions to help with what they do in their programming. So once again, a huge thank you to that organizing committee, Lisa and Shantae, and also to Ryan. Not so quiet all the time, but he doesn't get maybe the recognition sometimes, and he's a big part of the success of a lot of these events. So thank you, Ryan. So. And thank you for organizing this as well. Next, South Peace Student Council election. This was amazing. So thank you to Councillor Parslow for his contribution to get this council going and help. But I got to attend, they did their election at the school, so I got to go there and sit up there with them and talk what this means to us as a city. But also, like, man, at that age, like, to hear them get up and speak about what they're about and what they're about to offer. I mean, it was about community and voice, and yeah, I was in awe, actually. I didn't, when I was in grade 10, 11, 12, that would have been the last thing I would sign up for. And I think we had a teacher here early this morning that could probably second where I was at that point in my life. But yeah, like, just to see them get up and with confidence and like talk to like what they're about, and like, you want to talk about some future leaders in our community, and not even in our community beyond that. It was unbelievable. So yeah, it was great. They had a vice president and president campaign, so they had to go out there. So they did that. The next day they announced who was awarded. So we do a youth roundtable as well that everybody's aware of, but we're actually hosting ours tomorrow at South Peace Secondary School with the student council. So it's going to be pretty amazing tomorrow. So yeah, just wanted to give a huge shout out to all of them, and to actually Sean Cowie for his contributions, like for all of that has taken place in the year to get them to where they are. Mr. Cowie's a huge part of that. So next, we had a Louisiana Pacific tour. I think that was last Tuesday. Myself, Kevin, Councillor MacDonald, Councillor Apollonio, Councillor Kemp were there. Did I miss anybody? No. Just an amazing thing. I've always, known their contribution to our community in a lot of different areas, but it was just great to go there and listen to them. Listen to how they are as a company and an organization, and that they just are like those quiet leaders that just go about doing the right thing each day and treating their team. But yeah, they employ a couple hundred team members directly. It was also extremely educational for both Jordan, the plant manager, and Mark, and their whole team actually, but just on where we can help as a council and advocate for, fiber supply, their permitting process. So it was great to build that connection. So when we're, talking about UBCM later or doing these minister meetings, that we have the real education behind it. And yeah, so I really just, we've been trying to get in there for since we've actually been in these seats. So it was amazing to finally get in there and get to know them. And yeah, I've had touch base with Jordan since then. And yeah, I look forward to building that relationship. So it was an amazing a couple hours with them. So BC Rural Health Awards. So I touched on that earlier. So the city of Dawson Creek has won the 2024 Rural BC Community Awards. So I was going to have it sitting beside me today, but it's a little wobbly, so I didn't want it to fall over. But Councillor Sudnick and myself were down there on the weekend, which it was held in Whistler. And yeah, I can't say enough how full I was over it, just lots, because it's so much over my head, the whole medical field. But just, a shout out to all those doctors, those physicians, those health practitioners, all the healthcare that do what they do every day. Yeah, it was so educational. It was obviously an honor to be there to receive the award, but I mean, Dr. Magda Duplessis and her colleagues are a big part of that award. And contributions that past councils, the whole region have done to help healthcare is all contributions to that, whether it's the Boltry's House, the Locum House, the Carriage House, all of it contributes. So it was amazing to be there and just to support her. And I know a lot of the other doctors and physicians were there, definitely noticed. There was quite a few comments that we heard that they were shocked that a councillor and a mayor flew down to be there to support their doctors. So yeah, that was amazing and very eye-opening to myself. And I don't like to speak for other people, but Councillor Sudnick and I spoke a lot about this, but very eye-opening to both of us
other, like, even simple ways that we can do to help and contribute to building and growing a strong healthcare in our community. So the other thing too is what I announced down there about that the city has taken steps with key stakeholders in the region to move forward in the purchase of the Elgin Clinic to really to help with healthcare in our community. And, you know, today, but into the future, and it's really for a way for us to help secure it, really. And you know, just you could tell down there that they were, you know, another thing, just blown away that us as a municipality are taking those steps to work with as a team, right? It's not individually. So yeah, so that was great. So that's officially public now. Dawson Creek Library Coffee Connections, I attended that finally at a Thursday. They meet, I think it's every second Thursday, which happens to be when the regional district board meetings are. So the one in May didn't have a board meeting, so I was able to attend. So it's just a seniors library connection. They do it Thursday mornings. I believe it was 10 till 12. But I just went down there, got to visit with a lot of seniors, actually a whole diversity of residents as well. Fort Nelson evacuees were there too, so from the seniors home up there. So yeah, there was probably about 30 people in there. So I didn't, you know, just went there and listened, talked, visited, had coffee. It's good coffee, good company, and just it was. I definitely will be going back on Thursdays that I can, and I would recommend to anybody that I think they're pretty open if somebody from here wanted to go stop in. So they definitely appreciated it. Next, I had a visit up at Northview, which is another thing that I'd like to do is more often, but I just got to go in Northview, have coffee. I visited with a few, but I had coffee with one individual up there. And just, yeah, I mean, our seniors are, they're a huge part of what we do every day and have laid the groundwork for what we have. So just to be up there, just to listen and hang out. I was, I don't know, anytime I've been up there, it's my third time that I've been up there. It's extremely humbling just to sit there and, I appreciated it. And I'd like to every couple months if I can. They're going to let me know if when they do events up there for the future, I can go up. So I'll reach out to council as well. So if anybody wants to join me, it's definitely, I don't know much more to say about it than it means a lot to me. And it was, I enjoyed being up there visiting with them. So Aubert visit, another one I've been meaning to. I've never been in the Aubert Society building, and I had a little bit of spare time one day, so I was walking by and I went in there, and what a beautiful facility and welcoming. Like I'm not a big plant person at success of growing plants, but I like the feel of them, and they have it is beautiful in there, and I would recommend stopping in there too for a visit. And it worked out. It was one of the ladies' birthdays when I was in there, so there was 4 of them, and I just got to visit with them I was probably in there for an hour, but just really learn about what they offer in the community, how much they help that vulnerable population in our community. Unbelievable. So yeah, it was really great. They do a lot of youth stuff too, so I threw that out there as they're doing youth things. If they want, any services from myself, or if I can come speak, I've had some life experiences that I could share, and if they're willing to. So I think they're gonna, as they progress with their programs, just keep me in the loop. But just wanted to give a shout out to their whole team down there and what they do. And they're just another one of those organizations that just quietly goes about what they do. They're just they're helping, so valuable to our community. ESS for recent evacuation. So I guess first off, just wanted to, send our thoughts out to, I don't know where it's at as of today, but to Fort Nelson First Nations, Doig River First Nations, all that were impacted by the emergencies. Also wanted to give a shout out to our team down there. They do an unbelievable job. Went through this a little bit last year, and I got to spend a little bit more time down there last year, but just to see what our team does. I know it takes away from their day-to-day, lives, but it's, it's appreciative of these other regions when you're going through crisis. Because I know just being in there was volunteers from Fort Nelson that were in there helping, wanting to contribute. Councillor Apollonio generously donated a couple of his days off each week and spent a lot of time down there. And I know I heard that the team was very appreciative of that as well. So, just wanted to really give a shout out to all of them. And I know it's not easy, right? They're down there, those folks are going through things that are tough, right? And they're in tough positions. So, so just a thank you to all of them. Nine Lobster Fest was a couple Saturdays ago. I didn't attend the actual Lobster Fest. I was down there wearing a different hat. We were doing part of the food for it, but I got to spend some time down there and visit with a lot of the organizers and spent a good couple hours there visiting with them. So, just another huge shout out to our community and the South Peace Oilmans for what they do to really better our community. They're another amazing group and organization that contributes in all different areas in our community and do an amazing job. The Olympics was 2 Saturdays ago was kicked off. So Councillor Apollonio invited Mayor and all of Council and supplied us with some nice basketball jerseys. So I think we're putting a team in next year, I heard. But and we got Kevin a jersey too, because we need that height on our team. Yeah, we need that height on our team. So
someone under the boards.
Yeah. So just wanted to give a huge shout out to that organization and the Filipino community as a whole. How how they bring an event like that and how successful it is. It's over 4 weekends, but really it how they include the community. So it's about bringing community together and. I know, Councillor Apollonio, you're a big part of that. So just a thank you to you and to the whole organizing committee and the whole Filipino community. So thank you. When I'm done, yeah. Next, I did have on here, NCLGA was last week, so I just wanted to give a thank you to Councillor Kempf and Councillor MacDonald for attending, but also Councillor Kempf did touch on it, so thank you. A big congratulations to Councillor MacDonald as he put his name forward to be a director at large on the NCLGA, and definitely thankful that you have the passion and commitment and time to devote to that, but also just grateful that our voice as a community and region will be heard because you're very passionate about our community and the region as a whole and care about it. So it was very, I know I did congratulate you, but it is a deep congratulations. So congratulations. And next, I'm just getting a little on time. So stage 2 water conservation measures. So I'm going to put a motion forward and then Kevin maybe will speak to it a little bit. But just with some conversation with Kevin and the city team, we're getting close to back to that level right now where there's a lot of comfort. That could change as things move and things will change. But I'd like to put a motion forward today to remove stage 2 water conservation measures. So second, Councillor Sudnick. I will, maybe before I open for discussion, Kevin, did you want to speak a bit too?
Sure. So through your worship, so recent reports have our reservoirs almost back to where they were. We're just over 90% at South Dawson, which is our biggest one, and the rest are all over 90%. So we're in a good spot. It's taken a while, obviously, to claw back here. River is holding level and flow, so we're able to pump over 8,000 cubes a day, which is good. Our usage is 6,000 or less right now, so that's why we're making ground. So we can rescind stage 2 and go to stage 1 if council wishes. The only caveat I will say is that just the Kiskadon is subject to change quickly. It happens. We saw it in January. If we don't get any significant moisture in the coming weeks, there's a chance that the flows could drop off, and we would have to revisit, the situation at that time, dependent on where we are. So, just want council to be aware of that. So, for now, things are stable. They're not great, but they're stable.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. And just a follow-up question through you to staff. Every year, I know there is a period of time where we don't pump from the river due to turbidity. Are we past that? Did that time period fit in with when we weren't able to pump and kind of been able to leapfrog over it, or?
So through your worship, we made the conscious decision to continue to pump while we had water. So we pumped probably through most of it. The river's probably still a bit turbid because we're still technically in freshet, but we did not stop. We carried on, knowing that there's some implications to that, but I didn't want to see the water go by and us not to replenish our reservoirs.
Okay, so just another follow-up. So we're using 6,000 a day, we're able to take in 8,000. What was the average use by industry?
So when we were in early January, we were over 7,000 a day. So industry,
Okay, so we can
and again,
still-
that's dependent on what's going on, but
For the moment, based on those numbers, we can accommodate
Yep.
and still regain whatever remaining ground
Yeah.
we need to make up.
so should things drastically change where all of a sudden we see a huge spike in demand and we start, going in a negative position, then we would again have to revisit that. And we have direction from council to revisit the water conservation bylaw in stage 2 to try and come up with some definitions and some structure in there that we can really differentiate between maybe lower industrial commercial type uses and eliminate the higher uses, because right now it's all lumped in, like I think we've talked before. So we're looking at that as well. So should we have to go back to stage 2, we're hopeful that we can still accommodate some commercial business that really doesn't put a huge onerous demand on the system, but right now is kind of lumped into that definition.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Your Worship. During our conservation efforts, we did a release at the Bear Hole Lake Weir. Have we reestablished the height of the weir now then as well?
At Bear Hole Lake?
Yes.
Yeah, it's in pretty good spot. I mean, again, it's because thaw and the melt that would have occurred up there, plus, some groundwater regeneration, we're not in a bad spot.
So we're back to where we were there too? Okay.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Apollonio?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just adding to your appreciation to us, of course, from our community. Thank you for attending the Olympics, because we really appreciate your presence, and this is the biggest that we have. The city, the community from Dawson, Fort St. John and Chetwynd are so appreciative because you came, and of course we welcome the Fort Nelson people, the evacuees, just to welcome them. So they really appreciate the city because we are so welcoming and friendly.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Apollonio. Any other discussion before I call this motion to vote? Or,
No, we're
I
good.
guess I got to call.
Do you want to repeat the motion? Is that what
No,
I
I
heard?
was just going to call it to vote, so. I guess I should have done that first before we discussed.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, sorry, I wanted to give Councillor Parslow and something, yeah.
This has been trying.
Okay, I will call that motion. I'll call that motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried.
Can I just comment on your
Yeah.
report?
Go ahead.
Well, given the sort of the announcement that you've made, and given that how many people talk to me about what is the city doing to deal with this crisis around the provision of health services, my sixth sense that says, the general public need to know what our responsibilities are as it relates to health services, but what we've done as well. So I think we should consider seriously a formal news release about not just about Elgin, but also the 3 things that were recognized in that award. I mean, I don't know what much more we can do, right? And then coupled with your suggestion from to UBCM You know what I mean? I think there's a package of information, but I do want to stress that I believe, and I don't wish to be insulting, I mean, not many people, but there's a lot of concern about loss of doctors, et cetera, emergency ward closing. But they did think, some people give me the impression they think that we, the city, that's our responsibility when it's not. We share their concerns, but we have done some things and are continuing to do some things to try to alleviate the situation. I think it's a bit of an educational and information piece that's needed.
Yep, I agree. That was one thing we learned down there is seeing all these division of family practices and all the different regions throughout. Like there was one region down there. So we now have the South Peace Division of Family Practices, family practice, which was just affiliated last year. So now they're able to attend these and showcase our community, and region, Fort's Tumbler Ridge, Chetwynd, the whole region. But to see what the other regions were doing down there, and so it's just another educational piece, right? Like they weren't, it's not significant costs to do that, but the impact it has to those doctors, those physicians, to new ones coming up is huge. But there was one region in Northwest that was affiliated in 2016 in their division. They had, 67 physicians at that time? They have 200 today. So to see that we're now on that level and playing field and understand it, and I am not the one to explain healthcare and how it all works, because Dr. Duplessis was explaining it to Councillor Sudnick and myself, and that was his job to retain all that. So he will be the one that.
He can write the news release.
Yeah, exactly. He's got it mastered. So.
That's great.
But but with all that, I just wanted to thank you. I do need to end because we have to get going somewhere. So is that?
So I make a motion that we have a news release, or does that?
I think is that necessarily, Kevin, or do you think, I think we have one.
So through your worship, we have a release going out later today, officially just on the Elgin. Those other things we talked about, we can certainly probably wrap that up in some of our highlights and things that we do. I'll talk to Melissa about how we, because we're regularly communicating out on a number of these items.
Good to celebrate our wins, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Barzell.
Anything for you.
I appreciate it. All right, I am going to adjourn. Just for those that are watching, we are going back at 1 o'clock, but we will be going into closed. And then after that, we will be coming back into open. So, Committee of the Whole for Monday, May 27th, 2024, back to order. Our next order of business was 9.2. We had memo from Executive Assistant regarding meeting requests for the 2024 UBCM convention. Councillor Roll.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will move the proposed motion that the memo from the Executive Assistant regarding meeting requests for the 2024 UBCM convention and the letters from Premier David Eby and the Honourable Minister Ann Kang be received for discussion.
Thank you, Councillor Roll. Second, Councillor Kemp. I'll call that motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried.
Discuss away.
Yeah, discussion. Who wants to go first? Councillor Roll?
Okay, so I guess general thoughts. Obviously, UBCM, as far as conferences go, is the big ones for us as municipal representatives in the province of British Columbia. There's a tremendous amount of value in the networking, as the mayor noted earlier, both with our colleagues at a municipal level, but also with our provincial counterparts. And the meetings are one aspect of that. Certainly, I don't think it makes or breaks the convention, but it's good to get your face in front of people, and it's good to have an opportunity to articulate whether it's frustrations, whether it's concerns to people at a provincial level. This year, as we've noted, it's atypical because it's an election year, so some of the ministers we talk to may not be ministers shortly thereafter. But I'd also note that at a provincial level in BC, other than maybe a deputy minister, an assistant deputy minister, who might be political appointees. Everyone else on down, usually within the bureaucracy, is a political staff. So they do retain that that knowledge base and the content of the conversation after it's over. I know I've had, some very good conversations with staff at these things, and I think depending on what kind of feedback we're giving, what kind of questions we're looking to have or conversations we're looking to have, there can still be some value in these conversations. I think if you're asking political if you're asking for something that requires the expenditure of political capital, for lack of a better term, that legislation, what have you, you're probably not going to be happy with the response you get because they're not in a position to make those kind of commitments. But if it has to do with administrative hangups we're having, challenges, certainly for a concrete example, the issues our forestry sector is having are both, administrative and bureaucratic, but there's also a political dimension to that because at the end of the day, politicians need to make a decision to make it a priority. But, a 400-day turnaround time for a permit, irrespective of who the minister is, the person who's ultimately going to be tasked with implementing something to fix that is going to be staff that's going to be retained after the election. So I still think there's some value in it, but maybe slightly different in how we approach these conversations compared to what we do if we were dealing with a minister we know is going to be there a month after we talk to them.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to agree a lot with what Councillor Earl said there. There's much more to the UBCM convention other than just the meetings with ministers. I think if we have the opportunity for a 30-minute sit-down with staff, again, in agreement with Councillor Earl about forestry and permitting, et cetera, those issues, we should be jumping on them, taking them. We'll probably get a lot further in discussions with staff than we would with the minister who's most likely uneducated on the opinion or the going-ons in the north anyways. I see value of us being down there, being in the room for resolutions, etc. It's an important conference in our annual makeup.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. I'm thinking that we should probably go down through these in order. I think it's and just discuss, but I'm thinking like hearing this, we're probably better to meet with staff and is almost everybody that's here going to be going?
I will be going.
You will be?
Yeah, I'll be on.
Councillor MacDonald, Councillor Apollonio? Do you know if you're going to UBCM? Not sure yet. Okay.
Tentatively, yes. That's kind of
Okay. And Councillor Kempf, you said you were? Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you were going to. So, okay. I mean, that's pretty much majority. So that makes it a bit easier when we're going through this list to know if there was only a couple going, it would be a bit different, but okay. So I guess the first one would be the Honourable Mike Farnworth, Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General. I think hearing from the staff sergeant today on the regional policing that there's definitely some value to have this one. I just, again, don't know, I know it's one that Mike Farnworth is dealing with and we've had some discussions around it. So, I know that they're in caretaker mode. So do we meet with the staff on this one? Because, yeah, I don't know. We've had 3 conversations with the Honourable Mike Farnworth already. So
Yeah. So through your worship, and it's hard to say. So if you need something to get pushed across the line, something that's theoretically ministerial staff are already working on, it's in process, but you just need maybe hope to get some political influence to push it across the line, then you probably want to meet with the minister. But if it's something more along the lines of what we talked about with, permitting issues with forestry, then I do believe that that's a staff issue. That's my take on it, but for what it's worth.
no, that's worth a lot. Thank you. So I guess that being said, knowing that they're in caretaker mode, there's
3 days after this, I don't know if there's value in meeting with him to advocate for Staff Sergeant Hughes, because by the sounds of it, it's a year, right? So it's going to be the next minister that comes in that we're going to need to get a meeting with soon and advocate then. So if that's the case, I don't want to, it's not about my time being down there or yours. It's about, our EA and staff, the time that it takes to submit all this and put everything in, which is why we're doing this today, because they need it. What's your thoughts, Councillor MacDonald?
Sorry, 2 thoughts. First one, new government, going to be a cabinet shuffle no matter what. We're going to see a major shuffle. 2, I think when you're talking about Minister Farnworth or Mr. Cullen, I think anybody on there who is a senior cabinet minister right now, right, they're going to have influence in their party anyways. So having them on your side, even in the future when it's not their ministry, doesn't hurt either. Right? You can say, we had these conversations 3-4 times with Minister Farnworth when you're talking to a new minister, possibly, right? And then they can go back, Mr. Farnworth, what did you really think? Blah, blah, blah. There's probably value there.
Okay. I appreciate that. So I'm fine with one to put a request to meet with Minister Farnworth then. Okay. Number 2, Honorable Nathan Cullen. I think this is one that I would like the opportunity, to meet with Minister Nathan Cullen as well, but I don't know, Kevin, if there's value to do this. Can we request 2? Because you don't get them both, right? So at the same time. So what are your thoughts on this one?
So through your worship, we've met with local ministry staff, right, that are in charge of permits and whatnot. So if we meet with staff down there, I think they're likely just going to refer us back to staff up here because it's their jurisdiction. So there might be value in meeting with the minister, again, to bring awareness to, what we're looking at.
Okay. Perfect. Everybody good with that one?
Yeah, I think this is...
Just want to push your button, Councillor Barzal? Or camera? Councillor Barzal?
There are a number of important issues, but this one, water security, is the top one for me.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So Nathan Cullen's a very accomplished, competent guy. I think he's well worth listening to.
Yeah.
And he's a northerner, exactly, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right, the next one, Honourable Jennifer Whiteside, Minister of Mental Health and Addiction, request an update on the proposed expansion of North Winds. I actually heard real recently, that they're putting shovels down soon, so, yeah. But I don't know how accurate that is, but.
Discussing this with somebody last week, so.
Yeah, so I don't know the recriminalization of public drug consumption. Does the province have a plan to put the necessary supports into place for addiction treatments? Again, we've had, I don't know. Do we meet with the staff about this, or do we meet with, or do we not meet? Like, I get this, how important it is for our community and to advocate, and we have been. I think we've had, I don't know how many times we've met with the Honourable Whiteside, but it's been numerous. Councillor Earl?
Updated with respect to Northwind Wellness, I think that's operational and it is where it is. I think as good as it would be to get an update, we could probably get that by an email or a phone call. Yeah. I don't know if it necessitates a meeting with a minister. And then with respect to the recriminalization of public drug consumption, 2 schools of thought on this. Number one, the issue is big enough where it's going to be a subject of conversation, and the answer for every community is likely going to be the same. So I'd imagine it will be addressed numerous times. Similarly, with respect to wearing a political hat going into an election 3 days following this, I'd imagine the incumbent government is going to want to put as positive a spin on this as humanly possible. So expecting you're going to have a really, put your cards on the table, where are we at conversation, I think is probably not worth it. Yeah, not to be cynical, but yeah, this probably isn't going to be the lead bullet point in their campaign brochure. So,
Okay, so, Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, my thoughts is this is low down in the pecking order.
Okay.
Because you could put the icing on the cake if you found out for sure, right, about the shovel. You said shovel ready, or it's...
Well, I think, don't quote me on that.
No, I won't.
Yeah.
So maybe you should rephrase what you're saying. It's potentially happening.
Potentially, I heard a date that it's happening.
But it may be happening sometime in the near future.
Yeah, but I don't know for sure. I haven't talked to Isaac himself, so I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so is everybody fine if, obviously, we realize to our community the importance of this, but because should we remove this one?
I would suggest so.
Okay, I'll suggest that. All right, the next one, Honorable Adrian Dix, Minister of Health. So we have, what is the province doing to address challenges regarding the recruitment and retention of doctors, nurses? I know there's a lot going on there, but I'm just being part of what we have been. I want that on there. The second part of discussion, new hospital project and the transition plan for current hospital building. I see more of a talking point here about getting the Minister of Health and the Minister of Advanced Education together on how they can communicate and work together to benefit healthcare, where like the college is, they're investing a lot of infrastructure in allied healthcare and professionals moving forward, and they have a hospital on their lot. So getting those two ministers, what we can do to advocate for them to get them at the same table to talk, because I know when we met with Premier Eby last year, we had that discussion around, he had no understanding that they were on the same spot. So I think there's an avenue. So I'd almost rather have that in there instead of the second point. I know they want about 3 points. Not that where the new hospital project and the transition for the old building, we've already had that discussion. They don't know what they're doing yet, and they won't know until it gets closer to. So I feel like talking to them about the future of those two ministries working together is more beneficial to our region than that point that's in there. And I know they only want 3 points, right? So that would be one that I'd want. And then I guess the other one is I'm fine to meet with the Minister of Health, the staff on this one, I think. I don't know what everybody else's thoughts are.
Did you say you'd rather meet with Mr. Dix than the staff?
No, I think I'd rather meet with the staff.
Staff? Yes, I fully agree with that.
Yeah, I think Minister Dix is hard to get into to see, and not that, but I think some of these discussions about, the discussions with the college and the physicians, like how they work together, is a staff question, not a ministry one. Councillor Earl?
Bullet point number 3, with respect to local healthcare solutions, I think it's important when we go into this meeting, we show up, as Councillor Parslow noted earlier, with the list of efforts we've made to support healthcare in the community. It's, as he noted, this is not traditionally our jurisdiction and not an area where we would normally spend taxpayer resources, but I think it's important to articulate that we're pulling out all the stops, so we, would like the same effort in kind.
Great idea. Yeah, so to add like the locum, Moultries, Carriage House, Elgin, even the committees that we're sitting on, like the welcoming, doctor, So if we can add that into point 3. So that one, tab will be with the city, or with their team, with their staff. Okay. Honorable Singh, Minister of Education and Childcare. So discussion on provincial assistance initiatives to reduce barriers for daycare.
just a lot of those daycare things. There's also, I know in some other provinces, there's some independent daycares being funded. So I just wanted to learn a little bit more about that, like if BC's went down that avenue, what it looks like, what the future looks like. And then also wanted to talk about new schools. I know they did announce an expansion at Crescent Park this year, but there's also talking with Christy Fennell from the School District 59. They're also bursting at the seams at Canalta right now. They got 2, I think, maybe actually 3 portables, I think, planned there, which, is tough in where we live when, half of our year it's winter and you got kids going from portables to buildings for washrooms, all of it. So I think it makes sense to advocate there. So I'm kind of good, whatever you feel. I mean, some of that would be with the minister, and some would be with staff. So I guess what's the general consensus from council on that one too? I think it's one that we're going to have to continue to push, and I think this might be a year where we might have to make a trip to Victoria afterwards, maybe in the new year, and meet with 3 or 4 of these ministers. But Councillor Earl?
I would just make a note. I'm not sure if it'd be worthwhile to invite some of the trustees for School District 59 for a coffee, just to chat with them prior to us going down and speaking with the minister to make sure that our messaging is aligned on this, because I'm sure they do their own share of advocacy, but and they'd appreciate the help. But I just want to make sure that they're aware that we're interloping into their jurisdiction. So I think that'd be worthwhile to reach out to Chad and those folks.
Yeah.
So I would change that to School District 59, or make sure that it's Dawson Creek you're talking about, because there's many communities in School District 59.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So your Chetwynd is and Tumbler and stuff.
Yeah, so we should put a new school for School District 59 / Dawson Creek in region or area.
So why did the school district sell O'Brien and Park Hill School? I mean,
Oh, you're on.
Well, you have long-term birth records and you chart things out for. We used to know our population for 6 years before they came in.
I could ask Chad that one.
Probably, through your worship, probably the same reason that, the building was expired and its useful life had probably
So we
passed.
sell it to a private school? They do it.
I don't know. There's probably a reason that they didn't use to reinvest into it, right? So, don't know. Question you could ask the trustees.
Yeah, call them in here.
Thanks, Councillor
I'd
Parslow.
love to talk to Chad Anderson.
Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. With this one, in respect to your statement of, it might be something we need to follow up later in the year and go down to Victoria, I think you should start the conversation with staff then. Build a staff relation and conversation with them so that when you do go and meet with the next minister, they can educate on our behalf to the existing minister at that point.
Okay.
This would be a conversation I'd have with staff.
Appreciate that. So I'll do that with staff. All right. Honorable Lisa Bear, Minister of Post-Secondary Education and Future Skills. So this is number 1, is the shared healthcare facilities, identifies skills training program requirements, Northern Lights College and the hospital being on the same thing. I think 1 and 2 could almost be combined. Infrastructure duplication, the new hospital is being constructed. Those are could be covered in 1 because we only need 1 point or 3 points. So the wildfires and emergency management. This isn't coming from myself. This was part of my conversation with Todd Bonderoff. He was mentioning just the wildfires and emergency management that with their college facilities in pretty much majority of the northeast region of BC, that this would be something like if those ministers talked that, and maybe they do, but where that they would be willing to offer, ESS courses or how to plan for emergency courses. Like there's a lot of things that they could do within the college. And then also, just in our conversations with him, since the recent evacuation of Fort Nelson being in Dawson Creek and Fort St. John, and then our struggle with, ESS staff, that they are kind of provincial employees as well. So if they could extend that, or how they could do that, because they had staff members not working, right? So it definitely would have been some benefit to our ESS. And then also the last point is, similar to what Councillor MacDonald brought up for the resolution at UBCM, would be to touch on the international students, address the barriers that hinder international students from pursuing, but there's a lot of barriers for trades, healthcare, education, and certification as well for those. So could almost combine 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 to get that to 3.
Well, they want 3 points. You got 5.
Yeah, I know, but 1 and 2 are very much kind of the same conversation, and so are 3 and 4. Similar.
I think
conversations. They're very overlapping and would run into the same conversation.
So recraft them.
So recraft 1 and 2 together and 3 and 4 together. Does that make sense, Ted? Councillor Earl?
I was just going to note, not necessarily with respect to the bullet points, and this is going back to the presentation we attended from School District 59 some time ago about the state of education and post-secondary in our region. And one statistic that I kind of followed up on out of that, so among youth aged 18 to 24 in the city of Dawson Creek, 18.9 are attending post-secondary school, compared to 49.2 in the province of British Columbia. Which suggests to me that our facilities and amenities are, in general, underutilized or not serving our youth to their fullest potential. And although it's not necessarily on the province to figure it out, I think it is important to bring that kind of, I don't want to call it a demographic time bomb to their attention, but having young, and they're not going on to academics to get bachelor degrees, they're not pursuing any kind of post-secondary.
That's a great point.
That's very troubling to me as somebody who concerns themselves with building a community and what kind of economic viability we're going to have 20 years from now. And I'm not sure if this is the best minister to broach the subject with, but I think there is a general conversation. Now, part of that is just the state of our economy. People can go off and make a very good living right out of high school. But I think there maybe is a conversation about how the province and us can work with industry to ensure just because young people are going off to work in industry, they're not setting aside their educational aspirations in order to do that.
We could almost add that under the Minister of Education one as a third point.
Okay.
Because that's more like getting down to the youth, right? Like,
Well, I mean, by the time they've decided they're not going to college, it's almost too late.
Tab, could we add that to a third bullet point under the Ministry of Education? The Honourable Singh.
Just a comment.
Just Councillor MacDonald's next.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Worship. In regards to points 3 and 4 on this one, the wildfire emergency management and the emergency support services, I would suggest that we should actually take that to the Ministry of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness over the post-secondary, and ask for a meeting with Minister Bowen Ma, that it might be more appropriate to have those conversations with her than it is the post-secondary, especially when it comes to number 4 and utilizing NSC staff for our emergency support services.
Well, and I think we do have that covered in the next one as well. If not, we can add that. But that wasn't my language. That was coming from something that they felt that we could help them to advocate to both ministers about it.
Right.
So that because that's what we do.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, just because we had 5 points there, right? If we could move some of them,
Yeah.
right? That's all.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Parslow?
Just a word of caution about what Jeremy just said. Not that I disagree with it at all, but that's a long historical. It's not. I was shocked when I first came to the school district in '81. It's the same. It's a long, even in good times or bad times, the number of people, percentage of its access post-secondary is much lower than provincial averages here than elsewhere. So it's not just a recent good times thing, it's at least from '81.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Okay, we're good on that one. So then, Honourable Bowen Ma, Minister of Emergency Management and Climate. So first one, discussion of resource supports necessary emergency management and post-event recovery. I almost agree with Councillor MacDonald. I think we should maybe remove 2 or find out from Chelsea if we include 2. If I know that I had some discussions with Minister Ma and Natalie on the deputy minister because there was some conversations about some hotels that haven't been paid, and they looked into it and it got taken care of. But I don't know if that problem is more significant than that. So maybe just on 2 we can find out from Chelsea, and if there's numerous ones, then we will. Otherwise, take that off and then replace. Regardless, if there was, I think number 2 should be about other provincial employees that are being evacuated, that they could be utilized for ESS Center and paid through that. Does that work? Yeah. Councillor MacDonald?
That works extremely for me. I was going to make that exact point about number 2 and just ensuring that, before we go on behalf of that, we know for 1,000% everything's been done properly as far as the vendors go and their request for funds.
Yeah.
Right?
And should we meet with the minister on that one, or the? I'm thinking on that one is a pretty significant one, and it has been the last couple of years, and we see that this being more into the future. So I see it more like some of it on a staff level, that maybe we meet with the staff on this one. I don't know what your thoughts are, Kevin, and how you feel. You're a little bit more entwined in it daily with your team.
So through your worship, for us, for me, from a staff perspective, my discussion is just, or would be on, that the model's not sustainable. And what's the province doing long term as these things continue to, they're more frequent and more severe. And the provinces come out with the Emergency Act, which is downloaded or required us to do a number of things, but it's put an immense amount of pressure on local governments to staff up to handle it, right? And so, my question to them would be, so I'd like to know if they're looking at any possible supports or changes into the future to support local governments in a different way, or if they're just expecting that this is going to be ours to hold forevermore. So is that a question to the minister or to the staff?
Probably to the minister.
Well, for me, I would want to have that question with the minister, but if
they're caretakers.
Yeah, you're not going to get a lot out of that anyway, so, yeah. If we're talking about something that's going to be more of a long-term thing, it's probably better to talk to staff because they're the ones that'll be formulating the policy. So see if we can influence that, or at least hear some insights into where they're going.
Okay. So to staff. Okay. Okay. And the last one, Honourable Bruce Ralston, Minister of Forests. So one permitting request, the time of permit acquisition, post-salvage permits, deciduous logging permits, increased potential. What is the province doing to reduce the wait time for companies to obtain permits necessary? So I think those were the 2 major points. Really just permitting overall, but the permitting process from start to finish, but then also on the salvage and deciduous logging permits as well. So I don't know if they're 2 separate ones. And I think I seen the importance of this after our meeting last week. So do we meet with the staff on this one, or do we? Councillor MacDonald?
Through your worship, Councillor Earl might know, is Minister Ralston even running again? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, I don't know that he is, but I don't want to commit to that. But I'm fair. I do recall. Sorry, not to do my research in real time here. But yeah, I don't think that he is. But I don't want to commit to that on the heat of the moment. But I mean, I know at last year's UBCM, we attended a dinner with the forestry industry, and Bruce Ralston, Minister Ralston, pardon me, was the keynote speaker. And at that time, he was speaking to the issues around permitting. So I don't imagine anything we're going to say to him is going to be novel, other than to note the urgency at a local level as mills continue to scuttle their operations across British Columbia, and that the urgency hasn't dissipated in any way. But you know, I once again,
not to gossip, but I think the feeling at NCLGA is that Mr. Ralston is not running again and is kind of putting everything at arm's length. This one may be well worth speaking to staff over.
Okay, let's just do that.
Right,
then.
instead of Mr. Ralston.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Earl. All right. Everybody else good with everything else on their tab?
Bless you.
Thank you. Through your worship, would council like to choose their priorities? Who's their top priority?
What if which one goes first? All of them?
Water.
I don't know, without going back through them, I wrote down healthcare.
So through your worship,
childcare.
you could, council could empower the mayor to make that decision, and then you could have maybe you could think about it, and then let staff know how they're prioritized. However you want to do it, it's up to you.
If you guys are fine with that, I can go through this before it gets submitted.
As long as water's number one.
Yeah. Deal. Water.
Health's number two.
Water's number one.
Okay. All right. Do we need a motion for that? No? Okay. All right. We've already voted, right? Yeah. We don't need to make okay. So next on the agenda was 11.2 with a delegation request from Dale. On the rental of the facility for 3 days, Councillor Parslow?
Well, I'm going to put forward a motion, but we need some detail. I propose that we grant the use of the Inventive Centre and grounds for 3 consecutive days for the holding of a powwow.
A hand games.
Hand games.
National hand games event.
Yes.
And associated.
So I'm just making this motion to put it on the floor for discussion.
I'll second the motion.
Second, Councillor MacDonald.
So,
Discussion.
to our beloved CAO, what's the cost involved in such an offer into the taxpayers of this fair city?
So through your worship, so if it's going to be 3 days, they're going to probably need a day on either side for setup and tear down, and depending on what it is. So you're probably, because even with grad, when we do that, it's not just 1 day. There's a setup, tear down, and all that. But let's assume you're going to block off 5 days for that. And so this is in kind, and as I heard this morning, the whatever we give in kind then is good for try and acquire matching funds through the grant. So if we're 4 or 5 days, we're probably in that $20,000 to $25,000. Again, I'm just ballparking. I would have to go through it with Dustin and see, but that's kind of what I'm thinking the value is based on what we see the school district. I think it's $4,000 for that day that we grant them. So for in that $20,000 range or plus or minus.
So this is if I can, so this is for the 2025 budget year.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm a very fiscally conservative individual, but this does appeal to me because to me it has the potential to become a big deal. It has. It is also a tangible expression of a desire to be good neighbours and have partnerships with our Indigenous friends and communities. I think I've been to several powwows, one in Dawson, two in Taylor. They're great events. I think this could be quite something. And so I think this is a good economic development initiative as well, especially if it's a 5-day event, because, you know, they'll start arriving and so on. And so, but I think particularly, you know, we've got good partnerships with the Soto, Westmo and Doig, and I'm sure others. So I'm comfortable with that. Okay. So that's they're my reasons. Subject to change because Councillor Earl obviously wants to say something.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm not even going to. Anyway, I just wanted to make a couple points that might assuage my colleague, Councillor Parslow's fiscal conservative bona fides. So number one, as far as I'm aware, as part of our contract with the OEC, we do get rentals 2 a year, no cost. One we generally give to the local grad class. The other we reserve for whatever. So this could very well be included at that. So that $25,000 price tag isn't something we're going to be paying out of pocket. Secondly, as Mr. Bumstead noted, he wasn't asking for any hard costs like food and beverage or consumable materials. In addition to that, that would still presumably be paid for through other grants. Thirdly, the only real cost, conceivably, is the opportunity cost if there were a competing event that wanted to be in there that then wasn't going to be able to rent the facility. At that point, we'd be making a decision to prioritize one over the other. But if there's 5 days where the facility's free, where they can book it up for the 3 days and one end on either for setup and tear down, then it's really value versus, this event versus the nothing that was going to be in there anyway. So although it will appear and, essentially $25,000 value on paper, because that's what the event center would charge potentially for that, whatever the event is, the cost to us would be truly in kind. I do have a question though, for accounting purposes. This doesn't need to come out of a grant budget. Like I know when we provide swim passes, that is no. Okay. I just wanted to make sure we weren't going to run into a ceiling for grants if we were to grant the request. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to speak in support of this and just on the fact it hits so many of our boxes of our strategic plan, whether it's maximizing the usage of our assets, tourism, supporting our neighbors, relationship building. This falls right into the wheelhouse of our strategic action plan, and I think it's a great event to support, and I look forward to seeing this being an annual event in our community. I think it would just be amazing to have.
Oh, I'm not even on there, so that's why it's so quiet. Well said. I agree. So, all right. Any other discussion? I will call this. Oh, Councillor Apollonio.
Of course, it will bring business to the city
Yeah.
because of 3 days or 5 days. So they will stay here, and of course, yeah.
Yeah. So many great, positives. So, thank you. All right. I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Thank you. I need that. I'm starting to.
I noticed
It's
that.
getting late in the afternoon. I almost mixed my wording up there. Next order of business 12, Chief Administrative Officer Operational Updates.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of quick updates. We chatted water a little bit earlier. The other ESS, as most have probably heard, they've rescinded the evac order out of Fort Nelson, so it's now down to alert, so people will be returning home. So we'll see over the next day or two, things will quiet down at the center, and we'll hopefully be able to wrap that up, but that will result in probably another week or two of paperwork and follow-up and closing out of that. So there'll still be some time dedicated to it. But good news for the residents of Fort Nelson. Tax notices are out. We had a few calls last week. I'm sure you'll start to get a few calls if you haven't got them already. Just wanted to let you know. I chatted with a couple individuals, explained the 4.5% increase that council had approved. Some of the challenges, these folks were, their assessments had gone up a fair bit as well. So of course they see a different result, but that's the ups and downs of assessment. So, and the last one to touch on is the Pride crosswalk is being painted this week ahead of June 1st. So they're doing that. Just wanted to let you know. So that's underway.
Perfect. Thank you, Kevin. Any questions? All right. 13 diary, nothing in the diary. 14 consent calendar. Did anybody want to lift? No. Get a motion to accept. Councillor Earl, second. Councillor MacDonald. Call that to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. 15 media question period. No media. And then, motion to adjourn. Councillor Sudnick, second. Councillor Kemp. Call that motion to vote. Somebody doesn't want to adjourn. Councillor, closed. It's carried. Thank you, everyone. Great day. That was good. Thank you.